is Twitch. There we go. There we go. Oh, get up. To my Discord friends. I love how in Twitch it decided to be a total dick. Come on. I have to like actually load my own stream and make sure that I mute it. And there we go. Thank you. You didn't keep the settings. I'm upset. I thought we updated the stream. Hi, it ain't Sunday, it's Monday. There we go. Hi. This is fun. Making sure everything's popping in and showing up all right. I need to do a test actually. I need to do a test on something. There's supposedly a new Ko-Fi bot, and I have not tested to see if this is working, because this is just going to be my day, and I will be showing the avatar in a second. I'm so sorry, guys. This is just usual me scuffed start. I'm never gonna... This custom buttons widgets, that's already up at the top. Yeah, I should have done, it should be the Twitch chat alerts. All right, we're gonna, that's overlay. Twitch chat box. Verified. Can we send a test? I want to see it pop up in chat. Should be every 30 minutes, but I don't want to wait for 30. Click here to send a test alert. Okay. Well then no, that just sent that. That's just the test. This is not a chat. I have a chatbot now. This should be working. This... Where is this? Hello? Where is chatbot? Why am I scuffed? The whole plan was to do this and set this like all up, and where the frag is my chat? So that one does that. Okay, but like no, I was this there was one that sends a link in chat. Action, animated overlay. Goal overlay, that's not what I was. Test alert? No, there was something more. There was something else. Buttons and widgets, come on. Nation widget. No, Ko-Fi button. Discord. Stream alerts, Twitch chat alerts. Ko-Fi payment alerts, not what I wanted. More. There is more. I know there's more. Because I did more. It's listed as a bot. Hi, Jacob. Alright, we're gonna do this. So I'm trying to figure out why Twitch is hating me right now. Or at least not Twitch. I'm trying to see. There's like stream alerts and stuff like that, which might be what I'm looking at. But then even then, it all goes to the same place, and it's like I can do like a fake test, but it says chatbot. Chatbot. Hey, can I get you to run something for me, Jacob, if you've got a moment? I need to see if I can run it. Give me a second here. I need to see if I can run. Oh. There we go. Hi. Well, not much right now. I'm scuffed setup. That's all I'll say. I wonder if I can just, can I pop you out? Is there a way to pop out the Twitch chat? I remember there being a way to pop this out into a separate window. Come on, there's a way to pop this out. Scuffed setup, the usual, you know, me trying to, oh, pop out chat, there we go. There we go, and then I can just close this window. And then I can go down to this, and I can pull out the chat, and I can ideally, have chat running a little bit more live. As I'm looking off to the wrong side where chat is on the screen. I'm wondering if I should, I'm gonna have to do this. I'm wondering if I should, hi, welcome to the settings panel. Can I flip the image? General settings. Auto blink while looking down, link blinks eye fake gaze, that's off. Hybrid mouse sync tracking, reset hose on tracking loss. Prevent vertical lead movement, landscape mode, drift back to normal, that's off. Expression, anti-aliasing, improve anti-aliasing, desync cap frame rate. I don't have virtual camera enabled. Not using any of those. Increase process priority, disable increased background priority. Avatar locomotion. Hide avatar. Interesting. Okay, so it's not going to be on this. So that's great. We'll just drop that away. Yeah, getting a peek under the hood. Very interesting. Yes, no, the program I use is VC Face, avatar from Vroid Studio. I'm pretty sure I put up this avatar as like Creative Commons. Like you just have to like let me know. Like you just have to credit me basically if you want to use the avatar. I took a bit of time. It was like 3 hours to customize to try and see what I could do. But evidently there's changes I want to make. Like as much as I love the editor, the face it's very anime styled, so you could only ever really get the pointed chin. I kind of wanted to do something a bit different. I wanted to, you can see there's a black outline on a lot of things. I wanted to make that outline thicker, but I don't know how. That's not part of the editor's process, but like I really wish I could make those lines a little thicker and maybe even stylize it a little bit. But it's just not possible, which is why I was looking into VTube Studio, and that is one of the items on my wish list. If you are a moderator and have access to that, you can take a look. I will note that I don't know if any others of you have your I know you can click it. There is a pronoun section that you can add, and I know that it's like an addition or something like that, or an extension. I can fucking find, I'll have to open up Twitch again. And you can actually add pronouns to your own tags, and I encourage that, just so people know who you're dealing with. Just because online, everybody is anonymous, and you never know who you're talking to, and if you're ever referring to someone in chat, you know, and you want to use pronouns instead of just the person's name, you can. Sorry, just shoved food in my face to not specify that that's what I was doing. I don't know where I can check what my Twitch extensions are. There's a whole aspect to it. Somebody had a better link for it. It was on a Palia stream, so I was like, oh yeah, no, I'll just I'll install this and add this, and this will be great. And then I proceeded not to share the information at all. So now I have the pronouns, but I don't know how to go and tell anyone else how to get them. I kind of screwed that up. I know it's not like... I know it's not like a browser extension. It's an extension for... I wonder if it's in settings. I'm so glad I'm not sharing my screen so you guys can't just see all of my settings and all my information, but yeah. I have more to talk about in a bit here. I'm just taking a look at something, trying to find out. It's not under connections, is it? I haven't connected my Steam account because why would I? I don't have TikTok, I don't have Twitter, I do have YouTube. I don't have a Riot Games account, and I am never connecting my Ubisoft account because I can't change the name on that unless I pay. And I am not letting anyone see what my name is. Pronoun badges, chat pronoun badges. Okay, other connections. Can I see that? Hold up. Twitch, chat, pronoun badges. Okay. Let's see. This might lead to that link. Because I think it's... Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I mean, like, it's like when you change your your screen name, like, you guys know what my old screen names were. I don't want to be known by those screen names. Especially since some dark shit happened when I was young, and I grew up and learned better, but, you know, I kind of want to put that behind me. If you want to add pronouns, that's the link you go to. And there is a, so you log in with Twitch and you can set it. There is also an extension. And that extension is located here. So if you want to set that up, you can. I might actually add a title card to this, to be honest. 1 second, I can maybe actually add this. Hi, I need to go to my channel. Because as you notice, if you're probably hearing stuff, there's music in the background now. And I signed up with a creator program to, if you scroll down and take a look in the About section on my channel, you'll notice that there is a company group called Chill Hop Music. I'm using their creator program to be able to get this music. It's pulled directly off of their website. If you are planning to use it, please sign up. It helps them not only spread awareness, but also there's plenty of artists who give their songs for the purpose of getting their name out there. And so you'll hear stuff like this. I am working on, of course, having a little notification pop up in the top corner that should allow people to see what song's being played. At current, it won't show that. I'm sorry for that. I also have 27 followers. Someone just followed. Wow. Okay. Hello to the new follower. Chillhop, basically, you sign up with your Twitch account, and it can link to Twitch and YouTube. And there's a process to credit your streams, and this creditation also works whenever you're exporting as well. You just have to make sure that you drop the same creditation link that you would need to create the music provided by Chillhop Music to your description of your video. If you're planning on making physical videos and uploading those and not doing just live stream VODs, then there is a process about having to accredit each and every individual song and where you got it from. These videos will be going up as VODs in the future. I will see if I can get a little add-on, a little web widget to pop up in the corner that should ideally try and speak to the Chillhop site, and that will show people what songs being played. Currently, it's Reminiscence by Maxo. Really wish I could figure out how to get that, because they don't have a bot that works. I'd have to set it up myself. So it's going to be a process of a bit of coding, which I might do live as well. But there's a certain part of it that I won't be able to show because it'll probably be taking a look at the website's. Well, I guess it's be the public-facing info, because it wouldn't be grabbing anything that is proprietary. But well, like, once again, I just don't want to err on the safe side. So that when I make that particular chatbot and whatever it is, I can potentially like drop that somewhere so someone can take a look. Make like a web extension. But for the time being, the Chillhop link down below will take you to sort of the playlist and of all the songs that they have. They have something like 1,500. It's amazing. So I will do a mix instead of just straight down the list, and next song will be randomized. No idea what's gonna happen. I'm hoping that this lo-fi stuff is all above board, but I kind of went through and did all I could. But yeah, if you're creating a video, there's a whole process for about accreditation. And if you're doing Twitch highlights or archives on YouTube, you do need to link your channel and put it all in there. It's all there. You can all get that information on basically what you need to do. It's chillhopmusic.com. Please check that out if you want to go and do that. But that's where the music is coming from. Not to talk too much on that. I do want to do a title card, though, under the About section. So I'll have to edit panels. And I will add a panel, add text or image. And we will use this. I can use a title card. I don't think the person has... I might save the image off of their location in... Sorry, I need you to go to for YouTube, thank you. And we're gonna go see if this works. Image for Twitch extension. Okay, we're gonna try this. We're gonna try and see if we can set this up. So the image link to this. The description is pronouns in chat. In chat provided by, and you are listed as this name. Provided by, you know what, we're gonna do this. So the people can have an easy way of getting this. This is probably the best way to do this. we'll just take this one, because there is a browser extension that you can add. I have that added. If you go to the website, it takes you all the way through it, so that's that there. And I don't know. Drag or choose a file. I wanna see if that will work. Alright. Submit. I'll change the image at a later point, but for the time being, if I close off the edit of the panels, you'll see a huge kind of like out of focus thing down there if you go to the About section, and that will kind of allow you to set up pronouns if you want to go ahead and do that. It's entirely up to you. Yeah, okay, so getting into what's happening here today for this stream. If you haven't noticed, if you take a look at the upper right corner of my stream, you'll notice that I have a little sign that says make rent. I've been out of work because of COVID, so I had COVID for 2 weeks. I couldn't work during that period because I didn't want to spread COVID around, and it was the one that took 2 weeks to get over. This was not like the one that's like, oh, it's 5 days. I expected it to be 5 days. It was 2 weeks. It took me out for 2 weeks. After the 2 weeks was done, I contacted work, and they were like, oh yeah, well, we'll get you back in for the next session. You'll have to go through their like up training program again because you didn't complete it. And I'm like, oh, that's perfectly fine. You know, I don't mind that. And they're like, yeah, it starts on the 20th. When we had this conversation, it was like the 8th, or like, no, it was like the like, when did I have COVID? I did a post on it on Tumblr about when my COVID test became positive, which was not, that's why I did a whole bunch of streaming, and I had time to pick up. So this happened in January. So if I can go down to COVID test, there we go. So January 20th is when I got sick. I wasn't feeling great, and I was like, well, I have to go and get that. So I posted that a day later. So it was the 19th. January 19th, I get sick, and that sucks. Because that's like the Friday of work. So I had to call in and be like, yeah, I'm not going to be able to make this. It was like the 17th or 18th or something. It was midweek. It was like midweek. It was really close to the end. I was like, oh, I'm not going to be able to make Friday, but whatever, right? It'll be over in like 5 days. So it's like 19th. I finally test it, and I'm like, shit. So I really can't come into work. So 2 weeks later, so from the 20th to it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, it was the 3rd. So February 3rd, I'm no longer feeling symptoms. I went out to go and get another test. Turns out, well, we just hit the expiry date, so they didn't have any. So I was like, well, it'll probably be a couple days. It'll be fine. I'll see if they have any at work, and I'll take one at work while I'm like up at the front desk. I don't care if I have to shove a swab up my nose and be disgusting. I will do that. And I will wait 15 minutes. I will show up to work early. It'll be fine. But they're like, yeah, we don't have work. So I was like, okay, that's fine. So 4th or 5th comes through. I get the information. I have emails on this as well, documenting this. And then they're like, yeah, so you'll be able to like start work on the 15th. And I'm like, that's a little late. Like, it's the 3rd, and I've missed 2 weeks, and I barely made rent. I need money to make rent. And they're like, yeah, no, it'll be fine. Like, we'll get you working. You'll be able to at least make a bit of money. And I looked at it, and I was like, well, if I start working the 15th, it's the 15th, 16th. I know that they don't make us work weekends, so then it'll be all the way up to, we'll miss the 19th because that's a holiday. And I know that I get paid for this just by not showing up to work. I'm still employed, so I get paid for this day because it's a scheduled work day otherwise. So anyone who's new to the company doesn't get paid that day, but I've been in this company for like 3 to 4 years, so, you know, I'll get paid for that. So it'll be 15th, 16th, 19th, 20th, like all the way up there. That should be enough to scrape by like closely into the next month. Well, they're like, no, you don't need to do 15th, 16th. And I'm like, okay, well then that's problematic, right? Like, I'm not gonna have, I was hoping for the 15th, 16th period because, you know, that's, even if it's just showing up for orientation, I get paid for that. That's 8 hours of pay, right? Well, that didn't happen. So now I'm down 2 days that I couldn't afford. And then they're like, oh yeah, so you'll work the 20th and then all the way to the 29th. And I checked their payment schedule, and I don't get paid until until I'll work the first week, and their payment day is on the 23rd, to which I have had no prior work, so I won't get paid for the 23rd, and then the next Friday that they'll pay me is the 8th. 8 days after my rent is due. I won't get paid until after my rent is due. So I don't know what I'm gonna do to make that work, because I need that money ASAP. Because my work is not cutting it for me. I'm not getting paid on the for the time that I need to make rent. So this is what's happening, is I'm going to be doing streams as much as I can. I know that I do start work tomorrow. It's the work time is like 10:55. They're like, oh, show up 15 minutes early. Screw that. You scheduled me for 10:55. I'm not salaried. I show up exactly when I'm supposed to, and that's when I clock in. So if I show up 5 minutes before work starts, I show up 5 minutes before work starts. I'm not getting there extra early so you can be extra sure. If things don't work right, that's what that day is for. You're not making me come in early and not paying me for it, just to do a little extra work to make your life easier. I don't do that. You don't pay me for that, I don't do that. But basically, I have to meet my rent goal somehow, and I'm doing what I can to try and do that on my end. I don't know how much I'll be able to make, but it's up there. So, any help is appreciated. If I can make rent, that means I get to keep my apartment, and this really sucks because my rental renewal contract is after this next month's payment. So failing right before my contract renews for the yearly contract is not going to look good for the landlord. I can probably finagle my way out of it, but the problem is that my landlord still doesn't know that I'm trans. I haven't had that conversation. We had a talk, but I wore a mask because I said like I was feeling a little bit under the weather, and I showed them the problem that we had with the garage door because the load-bearing spring snapped and locked me in the garage for like 2 hours. It was not fun. And subsequently is how I missed one of my name change appointments and ended up finding a different lawyer because the other one couldn't accommodate. So, you know, sorry to that lady who was trying to be very helpful but had kids and problems, and this just didn't work. So I was able to make it work. The other problem that we are having here is so my landlord doesn't know that I'm trans. He kind of looked at me funny, and it's like long hair, trimmed eyebrows, couldn't really see much else, and you know, I dropped to guy voice so that I wasn't, you know, doing whatever this middling thing is to not kind of give it away anymore. And so I went out and I talked to him and showed him what was going on and helped him lift the door and everything, and, you know, tried not to be a fucking weak piece of shit, but, you know, estrogen did a number. Yeah. No, I'm not, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing any of that. I'm literally talking about how I need money. I'm not paying. I'm gonna go ahead and delete that message. Thank you. That is a bot. Or at the very least, that is a promoter. And I don't consent to having I don't consent to having other people. You also only created this in September. Your account has so little information on it. I don't trust this. I don't trust this. Do not click this. Manage suspicious user. Thank you. I'm gonna restrict you. And I don't know how to clear you out of chat. Because I'm gonna have to clear you out of chat. Great. I have to jump into chat and try to clear that out. Because it's not giving me, I hate like I popped chat out and everything. But you don't give me the stuff I need to delete your message. Thank you. Sorry about that. If you want to like respond, please respond. But Yeah, I also wonder why it doesn't let me. I can delete anyone else's message, including my own. But I can't kill your message. That's the funny part. I have to like click you, and then I could potentially, once that loads, I can like block and report you. Well, that sucks. Anywho, this isn't gonna be a game stream. Did it just? Oh my goodness! Thank you, Ko-Fi Streambot, for finally showing me that you work. 30 minutes in. Okay, so yeah, every 30 minutes I'm just gonna drop the Streambot stuff. If this chat ever gets live, I'll lower that to 15. I did add a bot to this. There are other bots that I might want to add. We'll have to see. I have to kind of like vet a lot of this stuff, and a lot of times that means going into the code and taking a look and seeing what I can make sense of it to make sure it's not doing anything weird. Which is why we come to this. Because I don't know how to raise money. And the money that I raised for my name change was like, it took a really long time to get. I've decided that what I'm gonna do here is we're gonna try and put my programming degree to work. Now, for those of you that don't know, in 2016 I graduated as a computer systems technologist, which was a 2-year degree that covered all of the basic programming and advanced programming that was being done in 4-year bachelor's degree programs with the express purpose of giving people sort of a major introduction before either allowing people to go directly into the industry as sort of semi-trained professionals with a leg up on the entry level. So just people that are coming in with a bit of like self-taught programming knowledge. This would be a bit more than that. With the idea of you know, getting jobs and getting trained on the job to be better programmers. The other alternative was that you'd skip right into year 2. You took 2 years, you could skip right into the latter half of year 2. You'd run the last series of courses and then exams, and then you'd go straight into year 3 of software engineering, which I didn't take because I'm dumb. I decided that what I was going to do was I was going to try and get a job in the field. My mistake was I didn't do co-op. I decided not to do the co-op program because I was trying to focus on getting the degree, without realizing that in programming, no one cares about the degree. The degree is as useful as the paper it's written on. Which is to say, once you've written on paper, it's not that useful. You can't really rewrite it. So it was worthless. And as a young adult that was trying to make her way in the world and not recognizing that she was actually a girl, I was still trying to play the guy card, I had a lot of problems going on and I just couldn't make sense of much of it. And so I just focused on the one thing I could, which was my schooling. This was also happening during the fact that my family at the time was in Fort Mac, Alberta, during the fires that happened. So that was all happening. There was many family issues. I had a bed that was like given to me initially, and it was stored at an aunt's place. And what that aunt did was she put it under a leaking pipe. So when I got the bed frame was fine. When I got the mattress, it was soaked. So we tried to dry it out as best we could. And then we slept on that for a few months, and it had this little like sweat cover on it that I didn't really take off. And when we finally did, we found out it was black mold, and that was the reason why we were sick. So we had to throw that out, and then bleach the shit out of, well, I mean, I did this in private. I don't know if I ever told Andy this, but I bleached the shit out of the bed frame because I did not want to fucking lose the bed frame. Still have it to this day. But we did all of this. I got my, we got a new mattress thanks to my partner's parents. Yeah, the things kind of, we still have that mattress as well. But the whole issue was that like I was dealing with multiple problems. Things were not going well. I was struggling mentally with a lot of problems. And there were health issues. I was having massive stomach issues because no one had told me since I was a baby that I had like that I had been born and the doctors had said, whatever you do, do not feed this kid milk. This is a formula kid only. This kid will only ever be drinking soy. There's a chance that your kid could grow out of it, but that chance is low. And what my parents took that as, oh, we can just feed our kid milk and this tiny baby will just grow accustomed to it and we'll be fine. That's not what happened. My body was doing terrible things to itself all up growing up, and I couldn't figure out why. And I went to many doctors about this, and they were just like, yeah, it's just IBS. Without saying it was IBS, because they didn't really want to give it. They're just like, yeah, your kid just has stomach troubles, just, you know, make sure they have like rice or potatoes or something, and that will help them. Doesn't help when that rice and potatoes is covered in butter. Just gonna point that out there. So I had all of those problems growing up. My parents basically ignored my dairy allergy entirely. I had hives across my chest that were getting worse because it turns out I also have a nickel allergy that they also knew was a risk because I didn't react well to the vaccines. And so they said that it's very rare for a kid to have a bad reaction to the K vaccine. So there's a possibility that I might have a metal allergy. Parents also didn't tell me that. Completely ignored. So all my life I'm dealing with hives all over my body. I look absolutely god-awful. I don't like taking off my shirt because I've got these weird spots all over me. One doctor, not being given all of the information, said that it's possibly this really rare, like, there's a fungus that is on, like, that is on, like, pine trees or whatever. And those pine tree funguses, like, everybody has it on them. It typically doesn't show. It's just like one of those microbes that's on your skin. But some people react bad to it. So they tried to put like antifungal or antibacterial cream on me. That didn't seem to help. So they're like, yeah, it's probably this variant is just resistant or whatever. And so you're gonna have to deal with this for the rest of your life. There's nothing we can do. Not realizing that I found out in later years that when I started getting blood drawn, literally for my HRT, I noticed that the one spot that I never had one of those hive spots started getting them. And then I looked at it and it was like the most pronounced around the injection site. And I was like, oh, I'm allergic to the needles. And so I looked up and I was like, what's in the needles? And they're like, well, there's possibly hypoallergenic needles that are literally just made of tungsten, which could be what this is. And so I went and I contacted them and I was like, I need to know what's in your needles because I'm getting hives. And they're like, oh, ours are medical stainless steel. Which is to say chromium and nickel. So I'm like, okay, I have this piece of chromium that was just part of a like an old play set that I kept. And so what I did was I did a test. I did a test in 2 points. I held a nickel to my skin and kind of like rubbed it there, like one of the really old-fashioned nickels that was like from the 50s. And then I took one of the chromium things and I rubbed that in a different spot just to see what happened. And sure enough, the nickel one reacted. The chromium one didn't. So I have a nickel allergy. And I'm like, great, I'm allergic to nickel, and any razor that I use that is not either by miracle somehow titanium or platinum, if it has nickel, I can't, it's damaging me to use it. But titanium and nickel blades cost a lot of money. So yeah, I was dealing with all of that, medical tests, finally got an allergy test, figured out that I had a milk allergy. Parents finally told me about that, kind of let me in on a bunch of stuff. I had to go and ask later. They really don't like sharing any medical stuff that they had when I was a kid. It's just been a pain in the ass. So now I'm basically trying to work with my doctor to explain that things are wrong, but he's like skeptic on all of it. And I'm like, I get it, but you have to understand that I've been dealing this since I was like 6. Like my thoughts on how much this stuff is actually hurting me is so low. But anyway, all things considered, I got a programming degree through all of that. They thought I was gonna fail because I wasn't doing good in all of the other courses. I wonder, yeah, I'm gonna have to just close that and hope. So what's happened is, I got this programming degree that didn't do anything. Because how could it do anything? I was I didn't really use it for anything because like I couldn't get a job in the field, and so I tried. I finally got an IT job, but then the company's downsized, and they went with my coworker who's been there for less time than me because they got a new client, and my coworker's sibling works for that client directly, so they wanted him kept on because they could just tell his sibling, hey, we need X thing done, and then he gets told directly, circumventing their whole system. And because this company is bending over backwards for this new client, I got kicked out of IT. And I really wish I had taken the severance, because if I'd known I was gonna get COVID, I would have just taken the 3-month severance, which didn't happen. So I've now learned my lesson, that instead of trying to get another job inside the company that's letting you go, don't stick around. If the company says, hey, we're letting you go, great, walk out. Take the severance. Take all of the benefits packages you can and leave. And go find another job. Because what I'm doing now is not what I want to do, and I'd much rather be in IT, or, you know, programming, which is where we come to today. So let me see about changing... Well, we're gonna do gameplay with VTube avatar. There we go, because we're on the main screen. So what's happening here? This is where we're starting. So that's okay. So we're just gonna jump into the I hope you have a good trip there, Jacob. I know you're in traveling right now, so take care, be safe, drive safe. Remember, people are crazy, and if you're taking transit, watch your back because people are weird. Basically, this is made by another streamer on Twitch. Also a game developer, currently making a game called Heartbound. I would highly suggest checking that out. What we're doing is we're gonna start making a video game, and we're gonna do this today. And I'm gonna be streaming this probably for a while. It should be noted that I haven't downloaded anything, so this is all gonna happen live. But basically, I got this programming degree that I've never used. I know the concepts of programming, and I know how logic works, and I know how a lot of like different statements work. However, there's one problem. I was trained almost exclusively in Java. I did a little bit of Python, and I've done C#.NET, I've done SQL, I've done JavaScript, I've done PHP, which I do not recommend. PHP is awful, but if you are making a website, it is recommended to have some level of PHP in it, because that is the base of how Google was run. And so unless they're changing out their base programming, if your website has PHP in it, you will get better picked up by Google search results. Just a simple fact of it, because it looks for like PHP tagging and stuff like that. And so it'll always put those at the top. So PHP, recommended to learn, but also I'm sorry for your loss. It is a horrifying program that programming language or scripting language, however you want to call it. It sucks. I hate it. I never want to touch it again. I probably will, and I'll just have to get over it. But beside the point, this is made by. So we're gonna be using this website to get a couple of a bit of the stuff that we need. If you are looking to make video games, highly recommended giving this one a read. It's made by an individual called Jason Thor Hall, who goes by the name Thor. Originally, I was so confused because when I came across this name and this was suggested to me, people said that this person's name was Thor Goblin Lord, and I was like, I don't know if that's true or if that was their actual like last name, because someone was clearly a fan, and as far as I understand, the Goblin Lord thing is a thing for his Twitch chat, their Twitch chat. I don't know their pronouns. I'm gonna assume they, just to be neutral, and if I get told otherwise, I will adjust accordingly. Basically, Thor made this website to kind of help people figure out games. He's also done a lot of other stuff. There's a Discord for doing game jams. He goes into a lot of it. You can see there's a whole bunch of stuff on the side to go through. And I've reviewed this a little bit. However, I haven't touched any of the engines. So when you go down to the engine section, from recommendation from Jacob, who just left chat, was to use Godot. So we're gonna use Godot. Oh shoot, I didn't wanna, god damn. Okay, there we are. So we're gonna use Godot, but things to go over real quickly about Thor. By the way, it looks like Thor's live, so if you wanna like open that up and see what's going on, coding, dev, and everything. Anyway, he has a much sexier voice than I ever did, which kind of, you know, validates me as a trans person because I'm not gonna get a voice that cool. Anyway, y'all were like, oh, you should do podcasts back when I like didn't know. And it's like, yeah, no, that's anyway, that's that stream.
Crazy replicant with
please go there.
bits said late to the party, but
stop.
wanna say
I
GG
need you to stop. Thank you. Because I don't want to steal Twitch footage from Thor. Go, if you want to watch Thor's stream, go look up, what was the name? It's Pirate Software on Twitch. Go look him up. Go watch his VODs. Go watch his video. Right now he's working on a RPG called Heartbound. If you go to, I don't know if I should open this up. I should definitely not open that up. 1 second. Black screen, hi, because that was left on something I don't want to be broadcasted to the world, because I don't want you guys trying to hunt me down. Thank you very much. Okay, love to see how well this goes. Okay. Whoop, VTube avatar. Hello. So, Thor does a game called Heartbound. You can find it on... Oh, come on. Come on. You can find Heartbound on Steam. It's an RPG. It's in early access. But if you want to see what's happening with the game, Thor's streaming the coding. So this is fantastic. You can not only get the game and see how it plays, you can see how he makes it, which is fantastic. And all of this, and I highly recommend it. It's also got very positive and overwhelmingly positive reviews for a game in early access. Please note, early access games typically do not get high votes. It's very rare. If it gets seen enough, and in this case, we're looking at 1,598 people who have reviewed the game, which means they own it. This is kind of amazing. It means that this game is doing well. So not only do you get to go and see the live programming and potentially debugging of this game, which I think is incredibly valuable. It's not a game that I have, unfortunately, but that's because I'm poor. So highly recommend. Go see Thor's content if you're doing want higher level game dev. What we're going to be doing here is a fail through. Now, I made a post about this on Tumblr, and that was that I have no idea what I'm doing because C++ is not a language I learned, and I've never touched Godot at all. Yeah, he even mentions that he has a Twitch. It's like you can hover over it and see it in the bottom corner. It's Pirate Software .live. Go over, take a look. You'll see it. He goes into like what skills do you need, and basically tells you nothing. You don't really need it. There are plenty of games that were made, including ones that was just made with stick figures and like animation. This one I think was it was pencil images scanned into a PC. Like you can make a game with practically anything, and he goes through all of this. It's very useful information to learn, especially if you're feeling like you don't know how to make games and that like you'll never be good at it. This is a fantastic website to just scroll down and just see like how to start out. Like it even goes into like how to build a team, which I'm not doing because I'm doing this alone because, you know, I'm scared of people and confrontation, and I don't have any good management skills besides, you know, somehow managing a whole shitload of people doing a D&D campaign, but that's beside the point. Look, okay, I don't do good with this, okay? I'm not good with this. But there are like game jams not only hosted on Thor's own Discord server, but also on itch.io. Once again, highly recommend going to develop.games and just taking a look. Goes through different tools, tells you there's no best engine. You can just use pretty much anything. The only sort of like the best engine is basically the one that works. This is what it comes down to. Godot, it does 3D and 2D, and is currently being used by major studios. You have Game Maker, which is 2D games, not very strong with 3D, but 2D game focus. You have Unreal, and Unreal is very good if you're trying to make like a AAA game. If you're trying to make like a AAA high graphics, fantastic game, the Unreal Engine 5 engine and Unreal Engine 4 are fantastic. They do have some limitations though, and I will point this out because I've played several games and I have also dived into the Unreal Engine and taken a look. The one thing I will tell you is that light sources are the death of Unreal. If you can get creative with your light sources, you'll make a much more clean running game. A lot of other games, they don't. So basically, if you have a 10-year-old PC like mine, a lot of light sources, a lot of particle effects is like the killer of this. Unreal Engine, great with particles, great with being able to display all of it. But the more particle effects you have, the more light sources you have, you could have the worst graphics for your textures and everything, but if you have a lot of light sources and a lot of particle effects, you will tank your performance. Unreal Engine has a bit of a problem with that. You can optimize it. You can also write your game in such a way and make your game in such a way that it does not require a lot of particle effects. It's something to keep in mind. Every 3D engine has every 3D and 2D engine has its strengths and its weaknesses. Of course, there's even things like RenPy, which is usually for like visual novels. There is no best art program. If you guys haven't seen me doing art, my art program, if I can quickly run all the way to it. Thank you. So I have 2 art programs on my system. I have Krita, which I've been more commonly using, and I will showcase that in a moment here. I have Krita that I've been using, and I have Medibang, which is how I originally got my start. Highly recommend actually going off of the better recommendation, which is GIMP. Especially when you're doing texturing, a lot of people will be like, oh, it's like the lesser Photoshop, but yeah, it's because GIMP it doesn't really shine when you're using it as Photoshop. Like, it is Photoshop capable. It definitely is a major competitor, but it has other areas that makes it shine. And he even mentions this. Might even use some of that same wording, but basically, GIMP, it's a steep learning curve, but it's worth it. Blender, this is another program I've actually used in the past. I don't even know if I have it on my... Do I have it on my... I don't know if I should... Yeah, well, Blender is a dating application that's telling me, but I don't have it installed on my computer anymore. Okay, so I did Blender in the past. I made a chest. It took something like 16 hours for me to figure out because I was doing it from scratch, and I made a small little animated 3D chest that was hollow on the inside and had a working latch and everything. And the whole purpose of that was to try and get an online D&D Forge program to make like a mimic. And so I was gonna like make the insides as well. And then I got bored of that and stopped because I can't hold my attention, or at least I couldn't back then, because I had ADHD. Then once I got that far, I was like, oh, I can just continue this on and continue doing this at a later date, and then got bored and never went back. Because I didn't have a progression plan for all of that. And so like once I hit the top point, I couldn't figure out how to challenge myself further, because there was nothing more that interested me. It's not like I became good at Blender, I just, kind of understood it and walked away. Other audio programs, this is all available on Thor's site. And one of the things that was recommended was streaming it. And I'd read this before and was like, yeah, I'm never gonna do that. And then I had a friend come up to me and be like, you actually kind of know a little bit about programming. Maybe you should just like try and stream it. And I was like, yeah, but I haven't been in the industry. It even talks about like monetization and stuff like that. And like, hello, Ko-Fi. But I got on Ko-Fi because of an entirely different reason. And then there's like scams and stuff like that to worry about. But basically, what I'm gonna do is we're gonna go straight to Godot. So if you're looking to make games, I'd say start here. Very good place to start. A lot of good advice. Do it. That being said, we're gonna go to Godot. And we're also gonna install another program, which is an editor. I need to bring back up a whole bunch of things. Hi. I need to bring this down. Whoa, I can't bring that down anymore. Okay, that's because I am too low. Hello. Okay. Hello. Welcome to the chat. So basically what we're gonna do, once I can open up no, that was that. I need to open up this. There we go. And need to make sure that chat is front and center. Hello. So basically, we're gonna start with Godot, and I haven't downloaded anything, so we're gonna be doing all of this live. I don't know how long this is gonna take. This could be an absolutely bad decision. I could do nothing but chat for this entire time while we're waiting for this to download. But that's the whole thing. Was I didn't want to like run around on the I didn't want to like run around and be like, oh, I've installed all these things, let's get started. Like I wanted to kind of take people through the whole process live. And my PC is 10 years old, so and older than that. And so this is probably going to take a while, but basically, Godot is a free all-in-one cross-platform game engine that makes it easy for you to create 2D and 3D games, which is fantastic, which is exactly what we need. So what we're going to do is we're going to download the latest. Also, since they're free, they do have a donate button, and if you donate, that'll like help them develop it. This is C# support. I don't think I'll ever use C# support because I'm not going to be doing anything that's going to be web-based. And there we go. That one was undefined, so that's now there. There we go. Right click. We're gonna... Do I even have an unzipping program? Oh yeah, no, I do. There we go. I probably haven't updated this in forever. Yeah, I'm gonna need to update this. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Welcome to the chat. Hello. Okay, yeah, no, I've already responded. ADHD. Excuse me. Nice to see you. Yeah. I don't know what the... I don't know how to install this. I wasn't paying attention. A comprehensive step-by-step tutorial for 2D and 3D. We'll open that, but I'm not going to initially take a look at that because the whole purpose of all of this is to okay. Self-contained. So it's just extract and run. Well, then where do I extract you to? I don't really want to... wait a second here. We're gonna drag you over to C. Yeah, continue. And then what we'll do is we'll just... Because I'm pretty sure my C drive isn't like chocked full, is it? Oh, it is chocked full. I might have to drop this in D. Or even E. E was supposed to be for videos. I'm gonna have to drop this in E. Hi, we're gonna drop you into the E drive. Awesome. C. I don't know why you copied. I don't want to copy. I want to delete. Thank you. This is just straight up moving. Wait, does that mean I have another copy of you in downloads? No, I don't. Okay, well, that's interesting. Okay, volume E. We're gonna do an extraction. Wherever I can find out how to extract files. Yeah, we'll just... Yup. There we go. Straight into my E drive. Says it's all self-contained, so we'll have to take a look. I freely understand that I might need something like Visual Studio, because this is just going to be like a base engine. I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't have any idea on how to actually do. I guess I could do this by stream. I guess I'm just going to do this separate. I could do this on Steam. Sorry. You know what? It might be worth it to do the tutorial. Because once again, I have no idea what I'm doing. Introduction. Get you started with the editor and the engine. Okay. Your first 2D game. Well, I mean, it's better than nothing. I have no idea what I'm doing, FYI. This is going to be a very fun and long stream of just me reading things and trying to apply them. Subject, will you code a game from scratch? Good, it's exactly what we're looking for. Just in other sections also include pages to cover general topic length. Okay. Awesome. Let's just hit next. Okay. Well, wait, hold on. We didn't do an overview. You were just like, hit next. And so I hit next. And you did not. Is this now? Oh, okay. Okay. There's something wonky going on here. This is step by step. Builds upon the introduction to Godot. So we'll have to start there. Okay. Introduction to this engine that I've never touched. Sorry, I just stuck food in my mouth and that was the worst thing ever. Okay, this article is to help you figure out whether Godot might be a good fit for you. We will introduce some broad features of the engine to give you a feel for what you can achieve with it, and answer questions such as, what do I need to know to get started? Well, that's the question that we're literally asking here. It's not an exhaustive overview. No shit. We will introduce many of our features in this Getting Started series. Fair enough. What is Godot? Godot is a general purpose 2D, 3D engine. Yes, okay, understood that. You can also create console games with it. We're not doing that. All right. What can the engine do? It was initially developed in-house by an Argentine game studio. Development started in 2001, and the engine was rewritten and improved tremendously since its open source release in 2014. Some examples of games created with Godot include X Zodiac and Helms of Fury. So pictures there. As for applications, open source pixel art community program Pixelorama is powered by Godot, and so is the voxel RPG creator RPG in a Box. Okay. Godot comes with some fully fledged game editor integrated tools, answer the most common needs. It includes a code editor, thank fuck. I don't have to go and install, pardon my language, I don't have to go install Visual Studio. I am happy about that. An animation editor, I don't need to install Blender. Awesome. Tile map editor, no idea what that is. Shader editor, I do know what that is. A debugger, I assumed that was part of this, but okay. A profiler, once again, was assuming, I guess certain things have spoiled me in life, and more. Great. The team strives to offer a feature-rich editor with constant experience. Of course, if you prefer, you can work in external programs. We officially support importing 3D scenes designed in Blender. I have done Blender. You see how that link shows up as being clicked. I've done this before. It was not fun. It was a lot of work, actually. Like, the end result was a huge payoff, but like the aspect in the middle, I was just not enjoying doing animation and anything like that. And maintain plugins and code in VS Code. I don't even know what that is. Emacs, GDScript, and C#. We also support Visual Studio. Or C# on Windows. This program is fantastic. However, C++ will always kill me. How things are organized is funny because I've found ways to manipulate C++. Oh, yeah, I'm a chaotic person. Well, welcome to my ADHD brain. This is gonna be all over the place. Yeah, if you were expecting any sort of structure, this is not how this happens. I am very chaotic. I have been told that I make learning both fun and trying, so if you were looking for a tutorial on how to make video games, this is not it. This is just me struggling. This is all we're here for. and I have learned that apparently people love to see me struggle. My playthroughs of Palworld have been largely successful because I don't know what I'm doing and I do stupid things. Yeah, I've been thinking about getting into like Lethal Company, but I need friends. The problem with Lethal Company is it doesn't really work unless you've got friends. Otherwise, it's just, how far can I go before I die? So yeah. Let's talk about the available programming languages. You can code your games using GD script. What the hell is that? Okay. GD script is a high-level object-oriented imperative. Holy crap, I understood this word. I have not understood this or that. Hi, we're now on Wikipedia for some reason. Rabbit hole, here we come. Imperative programming is a programming paradigm of software that uses statements that change a program's state. True science, imperative programming is a programming paradigm. Can I, wait, give me a second. Define paradigm. A typical example of a pattern or something, a model. Okay, hi, learning words. Okay, it's a programming model of software that uses statements that change a program's state. So, from my experience, when I first got introduced into this, I was dealing with Unreal Engine, and this is what they call blueprints. So it's imperative programming. Basically, the code's pre-written, you just link it all together, and it'll figure out how to like link itself so that it actually codes. You don't actually need to do a lot of the coding, you just need to go and like stick the segments together. I guess that's kind of cool, but... Yeah, imperative program gives us a command to the computer to perform. It was in describing how a program operates step by step rather than on high-level descriptions of its expected results. The term is often used to contrast declarative programming, which focuses on what the program should accomplish without specifying the details of how the program should achieve the result. Procedural programming is a type of imperative program in which the program is built from one or more procedures, also termed subroutines. Terms are often used as synonyms, but the use of... See, like, the way that I understand all of this is not how they're describing it. They're like, oh, we're gonna use a lot of high-level language. So procedural programming is a type of imperative programming, and it's basically after this is a type of this, and then they go in which, and then it's like built from one or more procedures. If you don't know what a procedure is in programming, you're gonna be lost. And what is a procedure in programming? It's just a process of getting something done. That's all it is. So when you're talking about like procedures, they're just literally like what you think a procedure is. Like, you know, medical procedure is just a process. It's a series of steps to achieve a result. So basically it's a program built from one or more of these procedures, also determined as subroutines or functions. Which, by the way, if you're making programming, functions are everything. That's how programs work. Your functions are what would do the not only the mathematical processing, but the like word processing, logical processing, whole parts. Like it's the whole aspect. So basically it's just saying that procedural programming is a type of imperative programming in which the program is built from functions. Like any other program. I don't understand why they need to specify things when it's just, I don't know. This all seems so very basic, but they're trying to make it sound hard, and I can see that. I can see that they're trying to make this sound hard. But why are you trying to make programming sound hard when it's not? Programming is incredibly easy. Once you understand the syntax, the language, and like how the individual pieces go together, you make functions, you make methods, you make objects, and all of those have state that either carry over or change. And all of that is done through functions and through interactions, and just, it's so easy to understand if you don't explain it like you're a fucking goddamn doctorate in programming who has lost the ability to speak layman terms. The use of procedures, a dramatic effect on how imperative programs appear and how they are constructed. Basically, you're just taking a bunch of programs, a bunch of functions that you've created and stringing them together to make them operate into a program, like into a program. It's like if you wanted to like count certain objects, well, you'd have to have something that can both identify the objects, something that can both count the objects, and then potentially even sort them, and understanding what those objects are in individual states. So all of those would be individual functions that then when you come together, they're like, oh, this is a program, but that's how programming works. Unless I'm misunderstanding something. Implementing the behavior of a computer program as procedures that call each other. That's how programming works. Your functions don't work unless they're called. You can build a function and it'll just sit there as code. Unless it's called, it is not useful. It's a series of steps that forms a hierarchy of calls to its constituent. That is programming in its essence. That is all just programming. You're just describing programming in a way that makes programming sound hard. Changes heavy procedural programming in which state changes are localized. So heavy procedural programming in which state, just your program, whether or not it's got a certain value or the object is doing a specific thing, or whether or not it's got a certain value stored, or whether or not it's like actively being processed or just sitting and waiting. States are just, it even describes it. A system is described as stateful if it is designed to remember preceding events or user interactions. But if you're building a program that has variables, it has states. If it remembers those variables for later, it has states. If you build a program that has a save file, it has states. There are some programs that don't have save files, like your calculator. You know, your basic Windows calculator at its core is stateless. It doesn't have states. It remembers only as much as it's been live. Yeah, it only remembers as much as it's been live. If there is a history, there's no history yet, right? It doesn't remember anything. You haven't done anything. And then so even if you do like something like that, all of a sudden it has a history, but it's only local, because the moment that you close it and then you start up calculator again, it has no history. This is a program that does not have state. All it does is it has functions. So this is important to kind of know. In which there are programs that are stateful and programs that aren't. So there are programs that remember stuff, and there's programs that don't. Your video games are going to be stateful programs. They're going to have to remember things from previous interactions. You're going to have to save things. You're going to have a save file load up in the correct location. You're going to have to, remember what the last score was. Now, there are some games that aren't stateful, that basically every single time you play the game, it doesn't save anything. You start from square one. Those are very old games. Like, Tetris and stuff like that. Those were non-stateful games. They kind of remembered only as long as they were live, but for the large part, they weren't stateful. So when they say heavy procedural programming, so procedural programming, literally just a program of a bunch of predefined procedures. So basically everything's been predefined. It's not just like you run this program and it's doing one thing. It has a whole bunch of individual functions and procedures that need to take place. Your calculator on your desktop is an example of procedural programming, because every single time you hit a plus sign or a times, it adds that into a different function that then outputs the result. Most programming is like that, unless you're like, there's non-procedural programming, which is like doing your basic hello world, where you just run the program and it just says hello world, and that's all it does. It doesn't have procedures, and I guess there's ways to expand across that on different system types where basically it doesn't use procedures. It's just a single program, because programs that use other programs are kind of like, how to put this, if you're doing like streaming on Twitch, the program that streams your information has other programs running into the background, basically. And that can even be things like overlays, etc. Like all of this, these are all technically running in their own separate programs. So like well, if I can pull that off. Thank you. I pulled the whole thing, but we'll put that back. But basically, like, this is it's technically its own separate entity in and of itself, and can be it's a program in itself, in essence. It displays a specific object, an object with stored value, which is a state. It's a stateful program. It displays something. And that would be a separate program in part of the bigger program of the software that I'm using, which is OBS Studio. All of that is just... it's a program that uses other programs to kind of give itself its functionality. It's solely there to just make calls to other programs to get specific things. And we do this. We do this with bots. We do this with even AI. Like it takes prompts. Like you type in something into a chat box, and that chat box is its own program, but it gives that information to the like AI bot that you're talking to, and then it goes through and makes calls to a bunch of other programs in the background to call it. That's procedural programming. It's just a whole bunch of procedures of different program calls. And that's how most programs work. Most modern programs work are usually procedural. You can have non-procedural, which is there are systems that use that, but like I'd wonder because we tend to have this habit as human beings to stick things that we make and stick them together. So you make a brick, and then you make that brick into, like, stick it next to another brick, and now you have the start of a wall. Like, it's just, you can kind of do that. Oh yeah, no, so like AI is actually like incredibly terrifying if you're getting into it. I haven't seen the Sora thing, but it was a matter of time. It's... The thing that you have to understand about AI is what we call AI is not really artificial intelligence. I don't know how else to put this, but like AI is not what you would actually think in programming AI is. Anybody who's calling AI, those people, if they're in the programming industry, they're stupid. It's not actually artificial intelligence because it's not actually doing anything intelligent. What it's doing is it's what's the term? I love it when I lose words. I just had it. But in essence, it doesn't actually like think. What it does is it recognizes patterns and it puts them together in unique ways. It's a way of taking data that it sees, in quotations sees, and sort of categorizing it and listing it in a certain way so that it can output similar results. It's not actually thinking. It doesn't actually have the ability to think. All it can really do is mimic. And even though what we can see is it being like, oh, it created this amazing artwork, or it created this amazing video, it didn't actually create the video or the artwork at all. It just crammed a whole bunch of things together in a way that, as far as it understands, it's so like it just outputs something that it thinks it's supposed to output. That's why you get things like chatbots that go off the rails and start saying weird shit. It's because like they understand that they've been trained, in quotations trained, they've been given the data set for the dictionary and how words are put together and how linking things are done together. And then when you ask for information from it, it pulls information from sites and then tries to reword it and make it make sense, but sometimes it can go off the rails because it's not actually thinking, it's not actually understanding the process behind AI doesn't actually require the comprehension, which is where we actually consider AI. It's not actually, it's not intelligent. Intelligent involves being able to read something, comprehend it, and not repeat it verbatim, but to understand the context behind it and to potentially repeat it in a way that makes sense to the individual, in essence. So if you wanted to sort of see what an intelligence actually does, you'd be able to read something like what's on the page and then do what I've been doing, which is explaining it in a different way so that it could make more sense to someone who doesn't understand these overarching concepts. So it is artificial, but it's not intelligent, if that makes any sense. It's shit, what's the term for this? There is programming concept of data sorting. What is it? There's sorting. It's not what I'm doing. It's a type of sorting algorithm. You know what? The better thing is, what is AI from a programming perspective? Yeah, Digital Silk, you're stupid. See, but this is wrong. It's not the simulation of intelligence, intelligent processes by machines. That's. I understand what they're saying, but that's not what AI actually is doing. It's not actually simulating human intelligence. It's not. It's oh, what is it? There is a term for this, and I'm missing it. And I know that it, because I've gone off on this before. So many times, and I'm forgetting the one. It's one word that kind of like cascades everything in my brain to understand what is actually going on. Procedural categorization of data. No, you're bringing up other things. It's called. Okay, no, it's not data classification. You're not understanding. It's doing its best to. Google is not helping me here. Okay. What is it? There's a term for how this works, because basically, instead of it actually understanding the information, all it's doing is it's categorizing it and essentially tagging it with specific tags for it to understand. It's not actually understanding what's being presented to it in the information. It's understanding the way that it's tagged it. It's not actually thinking. Intelligence requires the ability to comprehend what's being written, and it doesn't actually comprehend it. If it can give you definitions and descriptions, but it cannot comprehend it. Because if you asked it to extrapolate on a situation that it's never dealt with before, it won't be able to. What it will at most do is lie to you to try and give you what you want to hear. It starts with an M, I know that much. Fuck. It's basically machine learning is what it is. And machine learning doesn't actually like do anything. It's just AI is just machine learning and the output of statistical analysis. That's all it's doing. It's just analyzing what people give it or what it's been given, and then it creates sort of statistics and it breaks it down into numbers and data that has nothing to do with like what was actually being depicted, if that makes sense, right? Like when you look at a painting of something, you're like, oh, it's a painting of a car, like a red car in a street. You look at them, you're like, oh, it's a painting of a car, but the computer doesn't recognize that it's a car. It's not trained to if it's doing art output. It's literally just scanning through the image pixel by pixel, referencing what pixel went where, what the color of that pixel was, and how all that went together. And so what it does is it creates this readout of an image that is literally just data. It is just data. It's the same data that you would use to recreate the image in a copy and paste. But it's done this. And then what it does is it compares that data with the other data of other images it's given. Say, so you're like, oh, this is a car. And you tell it that like, image car. And so then what it does is it takes all of the images of a car it's been given, and it has all of the data, and it notices which pixels change, which pixels don't, and the more images it gets, the thousands of images it gets, it starts to kind of understand that when pixels look a certain way, or when they're in a certain organizational pattern, that it produces something that's called a car. So when you type in to AI that's been programmed to say do art, and you go do like a red car, it will take a look at all of the data that it's amassed as to what a car is. And what it's doing is it's just doing a statistical analysis on the data that it's crunched down, is all it's done. And then it goes, oh, instead of understanding what a car is, what the shapes are, that the wheels are round, that the body of the car looks like this, that the clear parts are glass, that these parts are headlights, this is taillights, it's just doing a pixel analysis. So when you do a car, it outputs a pixel analysis that is similar to all of the data that it's gotten. And sometimes it comes out and it does an amazing car. Other times it goes, this is a car. And someone types in, no. And so what it does is it takes all of the images of a car that we're told were yes, and all of that data, and it compares it against the data that it was no, and then it starts rebuilding its data set. The whole aspect of it is it's not actually understanding what's in front of it. If you told it, here's a car, this is a car, this is a car, right? And you gave it like thousands and thousands of pictures of cars, and then you said, give me a wheel. Well, if you told it that cars have wheels, and that the wheels touch the road, and that the wheels, without giving it an image of what a wheel is, separate from the vehicle, it can't give you a tire, but a person can figure out what a tire is. So like, you tell them, okay, well, here's all of the images of a car. And you're like, okay, great, this is a car. And you're like, great, draw me a tire. And they go, well, what's a tire, right? And without pointing to the image, you close down the image and you go, it's the part of the car that was touching the road. And even if you gave the AI thousands of pictures of roads as well, and it could figure that out, if you tell it what's a tire, it's not going to be able to extrapolate that data. It can't do extrapolation. It's not intelligent. The part that touches the road makes no sense to it, because as far as the computer is concerned, if the car is over the road, it's touching it, right? If there goes road and then there's car, the part where the road and the car meet, even if in the picture they're not actually meeting, it would be off the ground, but that's just where the two perspectives overlap. It's not able to tell you that that's what a tire is. So it'll give you something that is around where the car and the road is, and it might give you part of the door and not actually just the tire, whereas a person would be able to draw a tire, right? This is why AI isn't intelligent. This is why calling it AI is incorrect, because it's not AI. It's not actually intelligent, and it's like anything that you make that isn't considered natural is artificial, if that makes sense. A brick is an artificial construction of clay, because clay doesn't show up that way naturally. An iron bar is an artificial construction by melting down an iron, because iron doesn't naturally show up in bars. It's mixed in with other rocks and other components. You have to melt it out. This is the aspect of human creation, is everything that humans create is artificial. The clothes you wear are artificial. The glasses, if your hair is hanging up in a bun, that's artificial. That's not how hair naturally is supposed to fall. Artificiality is in every part of our life, and it shouldn't be seen as wrong. Pretty much, it is just an artificial pixel processor. But I wouldn't even say that it's helpful, because it can definitely help you generate images, but the problem with AI is oftentimes, and for a lot of AI, it's connected to the internet and told to search up certain pictures, like certain words, and then assess those images. A lot of the images online are copyright materials, which means when you're creating AI art, what you're doing is art theft. That's what it is. Because if you wanted an image in a certain style, what you would do is you'd contact the artist and commission them. But what AI does is it's art theft, because it uses people's copyrighted materials that they own to produce a result that they did not make. And the people who make the AI, they can't even claim that what the AI makes is theirs, because the AI, all it's done is analyzed an image and produced it into a data set. And your average PNG, your average JPEG already does that. That's how those files are saved. So all it's doing is file reading, and it's sticking them together. So if, for example, if you were to take Photoshop and you were to take a copyrighted image and add your own stuff over it, if you didn't have permission to use that copywritten image, say for example, if you wanted to put yourself next to Mickey Mouse before Mickey Mouse was hit, like, say, its current status of being in the public domain, what would happen is essentially you'd make that image, and sure, you could post that online, but you can't make money off of it, right? It's because it's not your artwork. So if you tried to sell a t-shirt with that on without attributing to the artist Walt Disney or the company that made that artwork, then what you're doing is you're stealing from people. So what's happening in the AI community is AI is gonna hit that stage where, and this is going to happen, and it's gonna happen exactly this way because it needs to happen this way, because otherwise not doing it this way invalidates every other law in the book about copyright, which is it's a matter of time. But basically, because what you're doing is just manipulating the image, you're not actually creating something new, and AI can't really create something new. It can only manipulate its data set, and that data set, if it's made off of copyright images, is manipulating a copywritten source, which means it can't be copyrighted because it's already owned by someone else. So any AI program that charges a fee to use, if it has been programmed or if it's been done on artwork that is not Creative Commons licensed, any money that company makes is owed to the original artists as royalties. And this is where we come into, is that tech bros making AI, as we call it, AI, all as it is really is machine learning and statistical analysis machines. They're that's all they are, is they're statistical analysis machines on top of machine learning programs. It's not intelligent. It's just categorization. And so with that in mind, all of these people making these programs and being like, oh, we're gonna sell the program, you can't sell the program. Because what you're selling is also the data set, and that data set contains copywritten images, which means those data sets of copywritten images can't be used. So you can absolutely sell the base program, which would be the ability for it to pick an image, and after being fed enough images, being able to output the result, but you'll never be able to copyright and use and make money off of the result, because if the company is the one with the data set and it's got copywritten data, they don't own the data. That data is owned by someone else. And if you as an individual get a hold of a program that can read images and output them in a similar way, it's if you use copywritten images, anything that system produces, you can't make money on. Because that work, if you do, then is stolen. That's basically what it is. What we've done is what we call AI, or especially for art AI, is essentially, it's a glorified self-running Photoshop, which means it falls under all of the same rules and restrictions of Photoshop, which is that if you alter an image in Photoshop, and that original work is copywritten, and you don't have the rights, the intellectual property to take that image and manipulate it and use it for your own purposes, then you can't use it. Because AI is not part of the creative process. This is different than, say, loading up an art program and doing digital art. The digital art that you're doing is based off of a human input. And specifically the human's direct input to change the pixels on screen. This means that it's not a procedural manipulation of an image, it's the creation of a new image using software. And AI will never be able to, the AI as we call it, and that's in quotations, the AI in quotations that we call it today isn't intelligent. It's literally a machine learning program with the added benefit of statistical analysis and then output based on that statistical analysis. It's micromanaging data. That's all it is. It's a data management program. And that's all it can do. But data management, data manipulation, you can't own those. That's the thing. Anything that is made by AI is uncopyrightable. Which means, it also means anything made by an AI is impossible, 100% impossible to make money off of. It's gonna come around that every single company that's made one of these AIs isn't gonna be able to copyright any of its output. It can't do that. And even when it comes to written AI that writes stories, those AIs aren't actually creating anything. They're manipulating the original works of other people. And unless you've been given express permission via Creative Commons licensing, that person owns that work. That is their intellectual property. They don't need a copyright, they own it. It was their creation that you took and then monetized without their consent. So that means that even if you were to, you'd have to basically train it entirely on non-copywritten materials. But a lot of these AI aren't. And the other thing is that a lot of AIs that go online that say for things like, I'll get to your comment in just a second here, but like if you get to something like AI that it does create something off of, say, no longer copyrightable material, stuff that's entered into the public domain, because AI don't have personal rights, you enter into the second problem of it, is that it is not the programmers that have made the output. They made the program that makes the output. The program that then outputs that information does not have civil rights and liberties, which means it cannot copyright its own work, which means it is not considered a person or a sentient entity that is able to file for anything. So anything that's made can't be copywritten, which means if you make a video game and it entirely uses AI dialogue, anyone can steal that dialogue and use it. If you used free online voice assets to make your video game, you took Creative Commons YouTubers and etc., and you, or things that are in public domain, say videos from ages ago, and you made an entire game with AI dialogue, anyone would be able to take and scrape off every little bit of your dialogue in the exact way it happens and use it in their own game. And if you get angry at them and you try to be like, hey, you used my game and I'm gonna sue you, you can't. Because you used an AI to create it, and an AI doesn't have rights, which means everything that was created by the AI is freedom of use. That's the whole thing. You can't do that. Now, if you were a human to have done that, to have taken the time to actually edit the audio and make it say certain things and blend it together a certain way, that's considered art. And you are a person who created that. Yes, you did just manipulate the data, but you manipulated it in a unique and creative way, and you as an individual who are a sentient being with life and with rights have the ability to claim that as your work. Even though it's using sound samples from other people. That's fine. That specific sound sampling that you did is technically yours. And is technically yours for the length of Creative Commons on the, like, for the length of, like, essentially the copyright on it. Because it's your work. So no one else can copyright work that you did not expressly sell them or tell them that they could copyright. So AI basically is fundamentally useless and harmful, because now we have thousands of people who want artwork, and instead of going and talking to actual artists who, you know, could maybe use the commissions, they're now having their livelihoods potentially threatened by a system that can produce the exact same work that they can, faster than they can, and it's technically, if it was made off of their work, technically the artist is the one that owns it, but then at that point, like, what is the value of art when an artist can feed a program all of their previous artwork and then just keep on outputting new artwork? Because technically the output, the manipulation is, if it's their original work, it's theirs. But when other people do it, you can't copyright it, right? But like, there are many times where someone would be like, oh, I want artwork of my work. I'll go out and I'll get an actual, like, you know, artist to make it, right? Or like an artwork of a character I've made, or an artwork of myself, or of something that I want to see. They can just throw into AI and enjoy it, save it, and walk away. One of those problems is it doesn't add any benefit to society, and it only does take away, and it just creates unneeded stress. Now, of course, there's the thing that like artwork and the art field is never going to go away, because people like things that are created by people, because the artwork is both an expression of what they were told to create, as well as an expression of what the artist's interpretation was. But the thing is that because AI can't interpret data, AI, in quotations, art, isn't even art. It's non-interpretive. As for the comment, the eye is certainly unhelpful, it seems. Yeah, because it's a misnomer. It's not actually intelligent at all. It's not doing anything intelligent. It's not creating anything. It's not comprehending. It's not understanding. It's not extrapolating. It's doing none of that. It's not actually thinking. It's thinking in the briefest set of what we can call thinking, which is the processing of data or of information. But it's not actually comprehending what it's thinking about. I mean, it doesn't really know whether it's doing something right or wrong, morally speaking. True. AI doesn't, because AI is a machine. It doesn't. The morality isn't on the AI. The morality is on the user inputting the prompt. That's the situation. You can be like, oh, I just asked it to create something and it created this. Because you asked, the morality of the output is based on your input. That's the scary part of AI. If you ask it to do something and it misunderstands and does something that you would not have done or asked it to do, but you did not specify, the moral implications are on you, because you were the one that pressed enter and instigated and told it to go. AI, as we call it, is a weapon. It is a weapon. And just because we've stuck a paint cartridge in it or a word cartridge in it does not mean that it can also still not be loaded with a bullet and told to fire. This is the problem with AI. This is the problem that people making AI and a lot of programmers are not considering, is that AI is a tool, and tools can be used to kill. It can also be used to harm, to maim, to hurt. All of this is possible because AI does not have a conscience. It is not an actual thinking being. It does not understand right from wrong. It only understands that it is supposed to output. So this means that if you were to stick an AI with the ability to program, and you were to tell it, I want you to break into a bank, it will do just that. Now, who's responsible? The AI for taking the act, or the user that sent enter on the prompt? If you said, hey, I need to make money fast, I want you to come up with $1,000, and it scams a whole bunch of people to get you all that money, who's the one at fault? You are, because you told it to go and find money. You didn't tell it to go and scam people, because you didn't think that it would do that, but it still will. And who is the person that pressed the enter key? Who is the person that gave it that prompt? You are. So you are responsible for what an AI produces. You cannot copyright it, you cannot claim it, you cannot own it, you cannot monetize it. But you are still responsible for what it creates. And if it creates something ghastly and destructive and harmful, it's on you. It doesn't know any better. And if you use it to incriminate someone who never committed a crime, and otherwise misinformation, then you're still at fault. That's if you produced a whole bunch of fake data and put it online, and someone used that data online to incriminate someone else, who's responsible? You are, because you created it. Because you passed it off as something real, you faked an event, you misinformed the public. You became a public menace. The AI takes no blame for it. The creators can technically take no blame for it, because unless it was the AI was explicitly produced to identify the wrong answer to everything and do the most damaging thing possible, it's just outputting, it's just a tool. You were the one that misused it. So it follows to the down to who is the person who misused the information. Because if a well-meaning lawyer accidentally incriminates someone and sends them to jail because of information that they were able to pull online. And it turns out that that online information was fake or had been submitted by an AI under the prompt. The person who is responsible for the prompt is the one that's at fault, not the lawyer. The lawyer would bear some of the responsibility and would definitely have repercussions for using falsified data and not fact-checking their own work. But at the same time, the person who created the falsified work, the individual who entered the prompt, is at fault for spreading misinformation, for lying to the public, and for essentially twisting the court of law to falsely incriminate a wrong individual. It's a tool. It's a tool. AI is just a tool. It is not responsible in any way. It is not responsible. It is in the hands, it is the responsibility of the person using it. It is the responsibility of the person using it to make sure that the output it produces is non-harmful and is not spread or disseminated. That being said, when we have things like helplines, like, I can't say it, but like, you know, the because of censorship in this day and age, I can't say the one word that describes exactly what I'm talking about, because that will get this flagged. But in essence, which sucks, by the way, it sucks that the English language is censored on a word that literally just is like, oh, it's because it's triggering. I don't care if a word is triggering if it describes what's going on, because now we have to dance around words. But anyway, that's a different topic. Basically, if you're doing a self-help phone line that has AI and it encourages people to do self-harming things, who's responsible for the person using it, right? This is where people will be like, oh, it's a gray area. But the answer is it's the company that provided it, because it's a tool that they're using to try and help people. So if someone comes in and inputs something into a chat expecting to get help, and what they get is harm instead, it's the company's fault, because the user is being provided it. And this is where it also kind of gets tricky, is once again, if someone uses AI to harm someone, who's at fault? Well, not only the person who used it, but who is the company that provided it, right? So this is where the fun part of AI comes in, is the question of, do you need a license to use AI? And the answer to that, I think, should be yes, because AI is incredibly good at tricking people into thinking that it's doing something that it's not actually doing, which means it can pass itself off as human and get you to believe something that isn't true. And that is potentially a weaponizable feature that can be used to harm people. So do you need a license? Like in Canada, where you have a license to own a gun, do you need a license to use AI? And I think that at the very least, there should be a requirement for a license to sell it. That you in good conscience are responsible as the creator of an AI to sell it to reasonable and well-meaning people as a tool that can cause damage. So if you sell a weapon to someone and that person uses that weapon to harm someone else, and if you were investigating and found that there was reasonable means to suggest that this was going to happen in a bad way, then you shouldn't have sold that weapon, right? Like, you should have refused it, because what you did was you enabled violence. This is the same thing that happens with AI. AI can enable violence. It can instigate violence. It can literally demand actions based on what it thinks it's supposed to output. So I think that it comes down to the responsibility of the people creating the AI to be the ones that have to reasonably distribute it. So it's not just like buying it online. You'd have to be able to potentially have a conversation with a person. What are you intending to use it for? Or at the least very clearly specify, this is what its intended uses are for. Uses outside this purpose, the company's not liable. It would have to be required that way. You'd have to specify the use of your AI. And the best part about that is once you specify what your AI is supposed to be used for, you are responsible for making sure that that AI cannot do the things that you are not saying that you're not responsible for. If you make something that is totally capable of being used one way, but you are telling people that you are not responsible if they do it this way, you have a responsibility to do your best to make your product not capable of doing those things. to a reasonable degree. And so this is the problem. AI is largely unregulated, but it's not even like, it's once again, it's not intelligent. It's not actually thinking. It's just statistical analysis on top of machine learning. That's all it is. And so AI is one of those really potentially dangerous tools that, like, if you're going to use for artwork, you've got to consider who it's hurting. And especially when you're doing AI art, you should be asking yourself, is this something that I'm going to be using, and should I have paid for this instead? That needs to be said. We all like having artwork, but sometimes people, you could search up an art archive and see what a bunch of people are using. If you're trying to get artwork for, say, like a D&D character, see if it already exists. If it doesn't exist, maybe commission it. Because what you're doing with AI art, if it's free, and if you've paid for the service, is all you're really doing is, if it's been trained on copywritten material, is you're stealing from the artists. You're not actually contributing to the market and the economy that we've created. You're taking a cheap out way for doing it. It's just a tool. But once again, that tool, like, I can see many ways of why that tool is potentially useful, but it's never useful from a consumer perspective. It's useful only from a creative perspective. If you were to feed all of your works into an AI and ask it to output something similar but in a different way in your style, and then you were to take what it outputs and be creative from there to change around what it's said, maybe change a bit of how it, to basically take the base and extrapolate off of it. If it's just made from your work, then absolutely, from a creator perspective, AI is an incredibly useful tool. It's an incredibly useful tool. But once again, it's not useful for consumers. So I will always say this, I don't think corporations should use AI, because they're the consumer of a product being produced by people. So AI should never be used by corporations. It should never be used by corporations. Not to build new things. It should only ever be used by creatives, and should only ever be trained off of their own work. That's ultimately, because that's fine, because then it's just taking similar work that you've done, extrapolating it out into an image, and you're like, oh yeah, I kind of like that, and you redraw the image. Or you get them to output a script, and you're like, oh wow, based on my previous scripts, this is something very much like what I would have done, but I'm going to go through and I'm going to change this bit, so I'm going to change the plot premise to this, and I'm going to alter this and do that, change names here and there, to, different names that you've come up with. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Because that's your work. It was based off of your work. All it was an automated manipulation. And I think that's perfectly okay to kind of get a leg up on using your own previously done works to create a better, more efficient and faster product. Absolutely. Should I think that it should be used to devalue artists' work? Absolutely not. Authors, artists, they should be the ones that are using it. Consumers like you and I, who are going off of like art databases, that's not the purpose of AI. That's an abuse of it, and it needs to stop. Can AI be a useful tool? Absolutely. I would love to see AI added into something like art programs, like GIMP, like Krita, like this, where I could feed it the images of my previous work and stuff that I've done, which, by the way, there's only 2 images here. I have one other image, which is of a shrimp, but that's beside the point. If I were to take previous images like this and have like thousands of pictures of work and ask it to produce something in this style, because I don't know what I want to draw next, and it produces an output, and I go, oh, I like that, and I take that in, and it uses that image as a reference for me to start doing something, that's, I think, perfectly fine. Even if you took the image itself and just made some minor changes, maybe the AI fucked up here and there, you can change that. That would be perfectly fine. I would have no problem with that. I'd actually really enjoy that, because that would allow artists to take their own work and extrapolate further on them and implement them in new places and new backgrounds. And it would be a useful tool for creators to sort of just take their already established skill and help them produce things in a more efficient and fast way that would still require the artist to be skilled in what they're doing. So even if someone uses an art program to AI generate their art, it wouldn't decrease the value of what they do, because you're still paying for the skill. That's what it comes down to. The same thing goes for writing programs. If you fed it all of your previous scripts, all of your previous writing, and you went through it and you said, hey, could you take all of my work and produce a script with this premise? And then you go through and you read the premise. You're like, oh, this is a very good script. I'm going to change some things here and there. I'm going to go back to this chapter and rewrite it this way. I'm going to add a couple interim chapters here because it's a little sparse, and I'm going to flesh out these characters a bit more. And I'm going to change this and go through and, rewrites the whole. You kind of like go through and you add additions and you write your own story. It's technically not plagiarism because you can't plagiarize yourself. So you would just rewrite the work and change the work. I think the problem is where you'd get a lot of people who would just use the AI to generate it. And in that case, in that situation, there's a bit of a grounds there that I would say that something that is purely AI generated off of your own work is a manipulation like Photoshop, and people have a right to know that it was AI generated. So you can say partially generated by AI or fully generated by AI should be something that is tagged in the image itself or in the work itself. You would need to accredit the tool that you're using, right? Because if it's an AI and it's an advanced tool, that's like, you'd need to credit the program that you used, basically, for, it was done in X program type thing. And that's perfectly expected. A lot of images that you create in programs have that information logged in the actual image itself. It's part of the metadata. It tells you what program potentially made it. And that's expected if you're doing digital work. And that even goes for your Google Documents. It can even specify, even if you change it to a Microsoft document, it still states where it was worked on, and that's kind of just a requirement of that production, right? If it later becomes a book, then it's essentially in the format of, you're crediting the format of the book, not the digital document. But once again, there's limitations, right? And AI largely is one of those ones that doesn't have a lot of limitations. And also using AI for things like self-driving cars is a horrifying perspective, because an AI, once again, can do horrible things. And then who's responsible? Well, it would be the person potentially that turned on the AI to drive the car. And if it does it enough times, then it's a manufacturing mistake. And it's one of those things where AI, the machine learning and statistical analysis can be very useful in like setting up systems, but I don't think it should ever be used to run them. There are automated systems that run things on procedures that are fixed procedures, whereas with AI, it's not necessarily a fixed procedure. It's an adaptive procedure, and adaptation increases the risk of harm. That is the nature of programs in general. Adaptation of a program increases the risk of failure. That's just it. Anyway, I need to get back to, it's 2 o'clock already. I've talked for 2 hours and done no programming. Okay. So, imperative programming, GD script reference. Gradual typing is a system in which some variables are expressions and may be given types, and the correctness of that typing is checked at compile time. I understand this. This is an aspect of, you make a variable x, but it calls a function. So that variable is expecting an output of, say, like an integer, a double, or a string, and if it gets something that's wrong, or that could be wrong, the compile time checks it and goes, hey, there's a possibility this could output the wrong way and cause a glitch or an error, you need to change this. That I get. Okay. So basically, when it says GD script is a high-level object-oriented imperative and gradual typed programming language, we'll get to the build. It's saying that GDS script is an object-oriented. If you don't know what object-oriented programming is, it's just a way of programming on sort of the idea of objects, and you can kind of mentally visualize that as like objects you'd see in real life, like your phone, your glasses, your ball, etc. They all have specific functions that they're supposed to perform, but essentially what they are is they're objects can contain data in code in the form of fields, and code in the form of procedures, also often known as methods, but essentially they're pieces of code that have their own state and can be, say if you had 2 objects of the same type, they can contain different data. All an object is like if you have two balls, one might have a scratch on it, one doesn't, but they're still on the object ball. Those are kind of what objects are used for. Basically to either describe data or contain data and do a specific, especially a thing with it, exist in a certain way, whether that's just containing it. Like for example, if you have, in a video game, a chest that you see is an object in code. And what that object does is it contains an array of possible contents of what that chest is, especially if you input stuff into it. That chest object contains a reference to an array that is very specific, and that object contains very specifically the data of what's in that chest. Now, an object can also be something like something that has code. Say if you've ever been to a crafting bench. That is another object, is a crafting bench. And what it does is it takes data, the objects you put into it, and it produces the result based on the conditions you've applied to it, whether or not it's on fire, whether or not it's, you know, it has the fuel it needs to run, whether or not it's doing X or Y. Those are objects. And so object-oriented programming is just programming. This is based on the concept of objects. Essentially, programming, making code that can be used in such a way, right, as an object. So it's object-oriented programming is essentially you make programs or you make code that contains data in a unique way and can have a unique state. Note, can. You can also make objects that share states, and that's perfectly normal. But the general assumption is that each object, when it's created in memory, when it's created in the program, say you write the code for an object, each time it's created, it will have a unique, at least some unique data set or some unique function to it to do a specific thing. Whether or not that function's uniqueness is the nature of its parameters that it's been inputted for, which is basically just like the conditions you've given for why it's being triggered, or whether or not it's you know, it calls itself differently each time. It's object-oriented programming is a concept that is best explored while doing, not in a text format. That's pretty much a lot of programming is not actually doing is not actually doing the actual coding, or is not actually like reading it. It's doing it. So basically, anything that you read on a script page, you got to understand that you're only going to understand maybe 10% of it until you actually start trying to do it, and then it'll start making sense as to what it's doing. So that's basically what this is. So I don't know what GD script reference is, but some people can learn better by taking a look at the script checks. So your example of how GD script works. Everything after this, yeah, okay, so anything after an octotherp, or what we call nowadays a hashtag sign, it's an octotherp, number sign, doesn't matter, sometimes referred to on phones as the pound key. It is a comment, so this is a comment, this is a comment. These aren't compiled, so when your program goes through, it only does this. If you're a programmer, you know this. It truncates out this and it turns this into processor calling code, stuff on the stack that is then later, you know, called in a specific way. All of this, essentially, all a compiler does is breaks this down to ones and zeros at the end of the day. Breaks it down to ones and zeros, and that's all it does. Yeah, I grew up. This might date me a bit, but when I was learned what that symbol was, it wasn't just called the pound key. They actually called it an octotherp, because it was the pound key / octotherp, because that's the octotherp is the official name for it. If you want to look at the name of the what is the name of the sign? Fun stuff that you learn by from people who are fucking ancient. It's called an octothorpe. This was the original name when it was created, was called an octothorpe. and then it got called £, and now it got called hashtag or hash sign, and sometimes it's referred to as the number sign. This was the original name. You don't need to call it that ever. You can just call it a number sign, a £, a hash sign, or a hashtag. A hash mark, also known as hashtag. Now, the reason why we call it hash is literally because hash coding, hash scripting, use the hash. For every single script line that you would do, if you were to write like information, it wasn't just a hashtag, it was a tagging system, is what it was. And so to indicate on the back end that something was a tag and not text, so you're like, this is text, this is a tag, that was the difference for websites. That's what the hash was supposed to indicate. So that if you were making a post back when they didn't have a separate field for your tags to be inputted in, it was all just on one post, then this hash was what was used. It was just a tagging system. So we call it a hashtag, a hash sign. Because the tagging system that they used was called hash. So yeah. We really screwed up that one symbol in English is utterly messed. Anyway, okay, so designates class, my class, extends the class. Oh, sorry, it extends from the base class, its inheritance. Member variables, so specifying a whole bunch of variables. Interesting, doesn't specify whether or not it's an int, just uses numbers. Okay, so this is how it's these symbols that it's using. And I bet you anything it's using the quotes to indicate this is just a number. And this is a typed variable, int. So this is, so these are untyped in essence. This one is, or at least they're typed by their content. This one is a dictionary, not an array. So array is indexed, is indexed, and it's specifically of one type of data. Dictionaries are any type of data, but I think they're also indexed. And then this one is a dictionary of variables. This is a typed variable, so this variable has a type of int and can only be used as int. And then this is an inferred type, which is what we're seeing a lot of, but that's inferred by this. Okay, so that types it, that infers the type, but otherwise these are probably just referenced types. Okay, that's interesting. Constants, I think these are unchangeable data. I forget what constants actually mean. I've used variables my whole life. Every time I've looked at const, I've been able to use a variable, but I guess constants also kind of help just to make sure that it's a constant value. And you can probably have a game that sets up the constant so it can never change. Unit enum, which is an enumerated number, or is it enumerated lists? I forget a lot of my programming. Give me a second. Difference between const and var. Var if you want to function scoped variables. Use const if you want block scope variables that are constant and cannot be reassigned. Okay, so the data can change, it just can't be reassigned. So I can't reassign the variable of a const. If it's like something like the name or character name, I can't reassign that variable to be like a data value of something else. But the data inside should still be able to change. What is let? What is let? Hi, LinkedIn, this is interesting. What's going on here? Actually, I don't trust you, LinkedIn. You do weird shit. Okay. What is enum? Thank you. Short for enumeration is a variable type that can be found in C. Why do you cut off when I need the most important part, you freaking jerks? Using int to represent set of daily values, a type with a restricted set of values. Okay. The idea is that instead of using an int to represent a set of values, a type with a restricted set of values is used instead. Oh. For example, if we use the color of the rainbow, if enums didn't exist, you might define, let's see, it's a const. More ints than colors. If violet has the value 7, program assigns the value of 15 to a variable and is clearly a bug, but it might not be detected as 15 is a valid value for an int. Okay. So it restricts the number of values. It's just an enumerated list of values for what it's doing. Why this one does it just as that list is interesting to me. Named thing. So this one is named, and so named can only be thing to another thing minus 1. These are vector objects, I think is positional data, and depending on your vector, it's either x, y, or x, y, z, I believe. Give me a second here. Vector objects, C++. I should have asked what is a vector. Vector of class object, an example of a custom vector made. We can store multiple class instances. And to create a vector of class objects. You're not helping me because you're not showing me the base programming of how a vector works. What is a vector in C++? Thank you. Stuff I have to figure out and do. Because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I was very honest. I have no idea what I'm doing. I learned programming and then haven't touched it since 2016, and that was a big mistake. I should have done this sooner. Vector stores emulates given it a type of. Is a template a template for sequence containers? Well, hello, Microsoft. Let's go to your horrible documentation system and the fact that you also explain things like you're an absolute fucking. For a log system, it's like, oh, we're gonna log all of the stuff that we have on our website. We're gonna log everything, right? They sure do log it in a way that makes no sense to anyone else but a person with a doctorate in programming. It's the one problem I have with programmers is a lot of programmers have lost the ability to speak like a normal person when it comes to their documentation. They only know how to speak in programmer speak. And you have to be able to speak down, because otherwise, like, this is my problem with most of my programming professors, was I had to rewrite their whole entire courses just to understand it. And when I did, they're like, oh, can we have your notes? And I was like, no. And they're like, why? I'm like, because you should learn how to do this yourself. If you can't speak to your average person about how to teach this, that's a problem with you, not a problem I'm gonna help you solve by you taking my work. No, it's mine. And I still have those notes. Because, like, to be honest, being able to break things down to simpler language and to be able to explain it competently in simpler language is a skill that I think a lot of people don't have. And a lot of scientists kind of lose that ability to understand it because they get so used to dealing with the words that the words just make sense to them. And then when you ask them to explain it, that it's like it causes them pause and they're like, well, then how do I explain this? It was like me with the machine learning thing. I could not for the life of me remember how to explain what AI is. It's just machine learning and statistical analysis. That's all it is. It's just statistics analysis, machine learning, which is just behavioral analysis. Like, that's all it is. It's a series of classifications is all it is. Anyway, it's a template for sequence containers. Vector stores elements of a given type in a linear arrangement and allows fast random access to any element. A vector is the preferred container for a sequence when random access performance is at a premium. So the template is template, class type, class allocator, allocator type. So allocator, the type that represents the allocator, the type that represents the stored allocator object that encapsulates the details about the vector's allocation and deallocation of memory. Okay, so basically whenever you create an object, especially in C++, not so much in Java, because Java has a garbage collector, but basically when you create an object, you also have to remember to decreate it when you're done with it. And when you don't do that, you end up with things called memory leaks, where you end up creating a whole bunch of objects that just sit there waiting in memory to be used, but they don't have a use. And so basically what it does is it keeps loading things into memory until the games crash. So you need to be careful about that. You need to make sure you're deallocating and being like, okay, this is no longer in use, so we're gonna go and free up the spot in memory. That you need to do that yourself. And typically you make a program to do that, and then that program just tests to see if the program is like still active or if it has a status of dead, and then if it's a status of dead and it's still waiting there, it just deallocates it. There's processes for doing this. You can make this relatively easy on yourself, or you can make it hard and hand code it every single time. This argument is optional, and the default value is the allocator type. So it's this. Do we get a example? There we go. So a void type, so it doesn't return anything. Assign. Okay. So you said I want to see if assign's part of that. Okay. Erases a vector and copies the specific elements into the empty vector. Okay. So that's what this is doing. So assign, void assign, size type count, const type and value. I want to see, okay, this is the example. Okay. Let's just see out. You're doing a for loop. And then v.2, okay, hold on. Vector int, so okay, integers. And then values of v1, v2, v3. Okay. So when it specifies up here, is a template for sequence containers. So for making a sequence of variables, in essence, containers, variables, that are potentially any variable. So the C++ standard library vector class. So unless changed by another library, the standard library class is a template for sequence containers. A vector stores elements of a given type in a linear arrangement. So it stores variables of a linear type, of a given type, so specifically of one data type, whether it's int, whether it's an integer, a decimal, string, a character, whatever. It's of one type in a linear arrangement and allows fast random access to any element. So it's basically just a declaration statement of multiple variables that can then be applied based on the data type that's given. And that type could even be an object. So if you need to make multiple objects, say like in like a dungeon or something like that, you could use a vector to say like create a whole bunch of enemy objects rather than instantiating and creating those objects individually and giving them different locations. You could just literally vector it. A vector is the preferred container for a sequence where random access performance is at a premium. Okay. So literally if you're like spawning in enemies or you're spawning in chests in a dungeon crawler. Type, the element data type to be stored in the vector. Yeah, so classifying what can be stored in the vector. Allocator, the type that represents the stored allocator object that encapsulates the details about the vector's allocation and deallocation of memory. So type that. Okay, class allocator. Allocator. The type that represents the stored allocator object. Okay. That encapsulates details about the vector's allocation and deallocation of memory. This argument is optional and the default value is allocator type. Okay. So if you want to specify how it's supposed to allocate and deallocate memory, if that was ever a thing for you to worry about, what you would do is you do a comma in this. You just do allocator type comma and then whatever this is. So if you made a custom object that has a very custom allocation and deallocation, or at least can have a very custom allocation and deallocation process in memory based on what it's storing, you could then call the class allocator and then what its type is, especially if you've overloaded your class. So by the way, overloading is something I don't know if anyone knows about, but it's very common in a lot of other programming languages, and I'm not sure if C++ does it, but basically you can define more than one different type of object under the same name, where the only difference is the parameters. This part here, these parts here in the angle brackets basically of your program, where it's just the only thing that specifies the difference is what parameters have been given to it. So you could have one with one parameter, another object is a completely different object under the same name that has two different parameters, another object that has three different parameters, and all of that is just different object calls based on what happens. Because otherwise, what happens is if you create an object and you give it, say, like 3 different parameters that it can have, so 3 different pieces of data that it can be given, and someone only fills out 1 piece of data, then the other 2 are just considered null, and you have to account for that. But if you know there's a possibility that someone's only going to fill out 1 field, the first field, then you could make an object that only handles that 1 field of that same name, and save yourself a whole bunch of time and checking code. And rather than having to be like, if null, if this, if that, you can literally just go through and specify. Now, should you still do, if the value is null? Well, sure, because if your program can take a null value or could output a null value, you'd want to be able to handle it. So it's all things to consider. But once again, vectors, custom. That's the middle of the vector. It's faster at insertions and deletions at the beginning and end of the sequence. Okay, wait. Vectors allow constant time insertions and deletions at the end of a sequence. Inserting or deleting elements in the middle of a vector requires linear time. Okay. Because it has to go through everything. You can either do it at the start or the end, but if you want to go into the middle, it has to check every single number. The DQ class container is faster at insertions and deletions at the beginning and end of a sequence. End of a sequence. The list class container is faster at insertions and deletions at any location in a... Okay. So yeah, you'd want to use either use a DQ. Yeah, okay. Allocation occurs when a member function must increase the sequence. Vector reallocation occurs when a member function must increase the sequence contained in the vector object beyond its current storage capacity. Other insertions and erasures may alter various storage addresses within the sequence. In all such cases, iterators or references iterators or references that point to the altered portions of the sequence become invalid. If no reallocation happens, only iterators and references before the insertion deletion point remain valid. Okay, wait, hold on. Vector reallocation occurs when a member function must increase the sequence so that the number of in-sequence declarations in the vector object beyond its current storage capacity. Okay. Other insertions and erasures may alter various storage addresses within the sequence. In all such cases, iterators or references that point at altered portions of the sequence become invalid. Okay. If no reallocation happens, only iterators and references before the insertion deletion point remain valid. Because it's a full specialization of the class template vector. It's a full specialization of the class template vector for elements of the type bool. It has an allocator for underlying type used by the specialization. The bool reference class, vector reference class, is a nested class whose objects can be provided references to elements, single bits within the vector pool object. Constructs a vector. So vector constructs it. Okay. Or with this size or elements of a specific value, or with a specific allocator or a copy of some other vector. Type defs. So you can do allocator type. Type that represents the allocator for the class object. Type that provides random access iterator that can const element. Okay. Erases a vector, returns. Okay, so then there's a whole bunch of functions that it can cause. So those are the dot functions, as far as I understand. So when we see like assign and these are the programs. Parameters. The number of copies of an element being inserted into the vector. Okay. Position, type, value. The value of the element being inserted into the vector. A number of position, initializer list, position of the first element beyond the range of elements to be copied. Position of the first element beyond the range of elements to be copied. Init list. The initializer list containing the elements to insert. Okay. Remarks first assign erases erases any existing elements in a vector. First assign existing, then assign either inserts a specified range of elements from the original vector into a vector, or it inserts copies of a new specified value element into a vector. Okay, so it's assigning stuff, but it can also be used to like reassign. Okay. So vector int, so vector of type int has v1, v3, and then I don't know what pushback is, because that's pushback. Add an element to the end of the vector. Add an element to the end of the vector. So for v1, it does 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Count v1 equals auto, and that's a reference, not a direct pointer, v. Never specified, so vector, so the 1 is just after it. So if you did v is the variable, 1 is the iteration. So v is v1. Oh wait, no, C out v1 equals, and then for auto v1, C out v, and then that. v2 assign v1 dot begin v1 dot end. My brain is burning. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. Hi, glad you've returned. Welcome back, Jacob. Oh, this was very specifically for assign. Did not. Okay. Add. Okay. I am so confused about vectors. What the heck? It just says stores elements of a given type in a linear arrangement and allows fast random access to any element. A vector is the preferred container for a sequence when random access performance is at a premium. Okay, so from what I'm understanding about vectors is essentially we create a bunch of individual, like it creates a list of them. So basically if you have a variable, it has like a list of, that's so fucking. Vector is the preferred container for a sequence when random access is at premium. Okay. It stores elements of a given type in a linear arrangement. What do you mean by elements? C++, define elements. This is the part that I'm getting me. So it's just values. It's an array. Wait, what do you mean by it's an array? Is a vector just an array? Is that literally what I've been looking at, is just an array? It's, wait, are vectors, I'm sorry. So a vector, so wait, hold on. So a vector is just an array for objects. Is that what I'm understanding? It manages arrays for you. Okay, Jacob, I need you to, in simple words, explain to me what a vector is. It's an array for objects. That is... Why could you not have explained that? Oh, this is why I hate programmers. They make me like go down a rabbit hole. I'm like, I'm not understanding. And then it's just like someone goes, it's an array for objects. And it's like, oh, everything has context now. Okay. I now forget what enums are. ADHD is the greatest. I'm just gonna continue on. I think it's like an enumerated list or something like that, and this one's named. That's all it is. Okay. Fuck, wait, what are enums? An enum is a user-defined type consisting of a set of named constants called enumerators. right? The whole color thing, so that like you instead of just using an int, you have a specific list of values you can have. Okay. Okay, and so then vectors, so objects. It's specifying 2 or 3. Function, so func, some function. I'm noticing that there is no semicolons in all of this. Does GDScript just get rid of semicolons? But it handles resizing and stuff for you, so I don't have to make a new array and then like increase its size and then drop it in. It just handles that. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, it has its resizing stuff for you. Okay. See, that helps me. That helps me. We're gonna eventually get to programming a game. Trust me. Well, this is just gonna be the learning process that we're gonna be streaming of me looking at shit and going, I don't understand. Can someone in chat please help? Okay. Some function. Okay. For while. Oh, interesting. So it just uses like white space or other declarations to. Oh, this is such an interesting programming language. I kind of like my semicolons. They make me happy, you know. But I don't get to do this. Okay, functions, override functions. It's possible to call another function with superclass. Okay, wait, hold on. Functions. And vector types, enums, constants, member variables, inheritance. You're just showing me the basic things like stanzas, inheritance, class name, class, optional class definition, to show in other editor dialogues. Icon to show in other editor dialogues. Okay. Everything after is a comment. A file is a class. So every file you make is a class. Okay. So rather than having multiple classes potentially in one file, you can actually have each file is a set class. That's an interesting way of doing it, and I kind of like that, I'm gonna be honest. Functions override functions with the same name on the base superclass. If you still want to call them, use super. Param1, param2. Function something p1, p2, super p1, p2, okay. Functions override functions with the same name on the base superclass. Okay, so functions override functions with the same name on the base superclass. If you still want to call them, use super. So if you make a new function and it overrides the old one, you can use the super declaration to call them. Oh, wow, I haven't touched programming since 2016. Okay, please bear with me. My brain's a little slow. Function override functions. Okay, with the same name base superclass. If you still want to call them, use super. Okay, so this was something. I don't know why you said. Okay. Also possible to call another function. Also possible to call another function in the same function in the superclass. Other functions only p1, p2. Okay, so super p1, p2, calling something from the function from the superclass. Super dot something p1, p2. Inner class something bar. Okay, so I can make classes inside classes. Okay. Function init print constructed. A constructor. Okay, print constructed. Underscore init, because that's what we do. We call that. That's how we fucking do this. It's the underscore. LV equals something dot new. Print LV dot A. Okay. So I remember how to call things out of once you've assigned it. I know how you can use the .a to call variable values out of it. You can also use the same dot thing to call functions out of a specific class. So once you've made it and you made a new one, or made a new object or whatever, because this is essentially calling this is essentially turning this is turning this into an object because it's using .new, and I remember those. Okay, if you have previous experience with statistically typed languages such as C, C++, or C, but never used dynamic type 1, we advise you read this tutorial. An introduction to dynamic languages. Well, that's the next one. I can't even read the way up on high. Okay. Oh, okay. The following, an overview is given to script users. The following, an overview is given to GT script. Details such as which methods are available to arrays or other objects should be looked up in the linked class descriptions. Any string that restricts itself to alphabetical characters, A to Z and A to Z, digits 0 to 9, and digits, and qualifies as an identifier. 0 to 9 and requires an identifier. Additionally, identifiers must not begin with a digit. Identifiers are case sensitive. Foo is different from foo. Okay. Identifiers may also contain most Unicode characters. Part of this allows you to use identifier names in written and like other than English. Unicode characters are considered confusable for ASCII characters, and emojis are not allowed in identifiers. Okay. The following list of keywords supported by the language. Since keywords are reserved tokens, they can't be used. Keywords and tokens that can't be used as identifiers. Operators like in, not, and, or, and names of built-in types listed in the following section are also reserved. Keywords are defined by the tokenizer in case you want to look onto the hood. I don't. Okay, so if, elif, else, for, while, match. Match, interesting, okay. Break, continue, pass, return, class. Class name extends, is, in, as, self, signal, func, static, const, enum, var. Breakpoint, preload, await, yield, assert. Void, pi, tau, inf. And nan, not a number. Okay, so all I'm understanding is that the same thing applies for like code that you were making in when we were doing in school. They're like camel code your shit, because like then you'll never have keyword crossovers, you know? And also use your variables as descriptions for what they're supposed to be used for. Don't just use like A or B, like literally just describe what the variable's used for. Or what it's supposed to do. Okay, operators and their precedence. Okay, so brackets, grouping, highest priority, parentheses are not really an operator but allow you to explicitly specify the precedence of an operation. Okay. X index, subscription. Okay. X attribute, attribute reference. Foo, function call. Okay. So this is an indexed x dot attribute, attribute reference. So this is like if you're calling a variable. Foo. Await x, so waiting for signals or routines. X is node. Type checking. Also see instance is instance of function. Okay, x y multiplies x by y. Bitwise not. Identity / negation. You have to explain that one to me someday. Multiplication, divisor. Okay, yeah, and then this is so multiplication, division, and then this is I forget what that is, but it's modulus. There we go. For addition or concatenation, it's also subtraction. So basically, adding strings together. Bit shifting. Interesting. I don't know. I understand theoretically what this means. I don't know. Bitwise and, bitwise or, bitwise, sorry, XOR, bitwise or. Oh, okay, so these are logical operators. Bit shifting. I don't know why you do this, but okay. Okay, yeah, it's left associative, so X times Y type thing, which does matter in some cases. Bit shift and or, okay, and then this is equals to, not equals to, less than X is less than Y, so less than, greater than, less than, equal to, greater than, equal to. Inclusion checking, in Y, not in Y, okay. Not X, Boolean not, and it's unrecommended, it's Boolean not, and it's unrecommended alias. Wait, why are you saying this is how I was taught? Prefer the plain English version of Boolean operators as they are the most accessible. Okay. Okay, I understand. You want me to use the and or thing for the Boolean stuff so that I don't confuse people, despite this making more sense to me, is the not X and everything, because of this shit. But that's fine. That's fine. It's fine. And because like you do a lot of, if you get a lot of these side by side, it like makes sense to be like and then or and not, but whatever. I'll try to use this. Fine. X as node, typecasting. Okay, wait. Casting. Let me just show me a thing. Casting. Values assigned to type variables must be of a compatible type. If it's needed to coerce a value of a certain type, in particular for an object, you can use the casting operator as. Casting between object types results in the same object if the value is of the same or a subtype of the cast type. Results in the same object. Okay, if the value is not a subtype, the casting operation will result in null. This button, it's a subtype of node 2D. Works since Sprite 2D is a subclass. 2D equals. Okay. Typecasting? Okay. Built-in types, they will be forcibly converted if possible. Otherwise, the engine will raise an error. Var my int, my int, 123 as int. The string can be converted into an int. Vector2 as int, vector2 can't be converted into int. This will cause an error. Okay. Forcibly converted if possible, otherwise the engine will raise an error. The string can be converted into an int, so it'll just be 123. Okay. Casting between object type results in the same object if the value is of the same type or subtype of the cast type. Casting between object types results. Casting between object types results in the same object if the value of the same type or subtype, if the value is of. My brain having a moment here. Hi, ADHD, really fucking hard to read some lines. Casting between object types results in the same object if the value is of the same type or a subtype of the cast type. So, if I want to cast Sprite 2D as node, and this thing is node 2D, then it works since Sprite 2D is a subtype of node 2D. Okay, so I can cast Sprite 2D as node 2D because Sprite is a subtype of node 2D. So you have node 2D and then you have Sprite 2D. Okay, so using the terms node and Sprite, which if I didn't know, that would have fucked me up badly. But basically you have nodes and then sprites underneath. So basically you can subcast this as a node because technically it's a subtype. If the value is not a subtype, casting operation will result in a null value. So node 2D. Node 2D equals button adds node 2D. Results in null since button is not a subtype of node 2D. So I can cast it, but it'll result as null. Result in a null value. Oh, this just goes into enums. Okay. Values assigned to typed variables must have a compatible type. Values assigned to typed variables must have a compatible type. If it's needed to coerce a value to be of a certain type, in particular for object types, you can use the casting operator as. Okay. Need to have a compatible type. If it's needed to coerce a value to be of a certain type, in particular for object types, you can use the casting operator as. So if I need Sprite 2D to be of the object node 2D instead of just Sprite 2D, I can do that. And this one will also do it if I need button to be okay. But this will turn node 2D into whatever the value of button is. And this will also turn node 2D into whatever the value of Sprite 2D is. So if Sprite 2D was set up as like a specific object type and node 2D is like the parent class to it, then it can technically do this because subclasses inherit their parent class functionality in essence. So that can be done. Okay. My brain's learning. Equals, plus equals, minus equals, times equals, divided equals. I don't know what the double one is. Oh, is that exponent? This is adding or doing something to this. What is that? Because if it's times equals the value of y. So basically what this does is it takes the value of y and multiplies it by x. So if this is this case, if I'm assuming what this is correctly, this would take whatever the value of y is, and it would add it as an exponent to x, and then do that process. Modulus equals, so whatever the remainder of the two divided it? No, it wouldn't be the remainder, it truncates. And equals, that one's gonna be a weird one. It's bitwise and equals. Or equals. XOR equals. And then those two are literally bit shifting left and y equals. I don't know why we do bit shifting, because bit shifting is not something I covered, so I'll just never have to touch that. Operators differ from what you expect. If both operands of the are int, then integer division is performed instead of fractional. Level is not 0.5. Desired at least use one float. Okay. Well, yeah, because the division truncates to keep it into the integer value. That I understand. Or multiply. Only available for ints. Let's use method fmod. Okay. Well, I missed the message that was said, but yeah, I'm just doing a lot of refreshers on code right now. I'd recommend the game Class of '09, the re-up. Yeah, like I do gameplay, and I can do gameplay. The thing is that like I want to learn how to make games. That's the thing. And this is it's just describing. Okay, false. I don't know if I'll ever use that. There are also two constructs. Those are actually not. I forget what literals are. True, false. Base 10 integer. Base 16 hexadecimal integer. Okay, so no, this is what it is. Okay, these examples. No, boolean. Raw strings. Triple coded raw string. String name. I'm actually gonna look that up because that ampersand always fucking confuses me. Are immutable strings designed for general purpose representation of unique names, also called string interning. Two string names with the same value are the same object. Comparing them is extremely fast compared to other strings. We usually just pass a string to methods, expecting and it will be unignored, but you may occasionally want to construct a string name ahead of time with the string name constructor, or in GDS script, the literal syntax. Example. Also see all string methods are all of strings methods are available in this class too. They convert string name into a string, and they also return a string. This is highly inefficient, should only be used for the string as desired. Okay. Wow, that makes no sense to me, but okay. I don't know what this is used for, and I probably will never touch it. What did you, like you said, like, what is this thing? And it was like, string name, a built-in type for unique strings. Description: string names are immutable strings designed for general purpose representation of unique names, also called string interning. Two strings with the same value. Two string names with the same value are the same object. Comparing them is extremely fast compared to regular strings. Okay. String name. You will usually pass a string to methods expecting a string name, and it will be automatically converted, but you may occasionally want to construct a string name ahead of time with a string name constructor, or in GDS script, the literal syntax. Okay. You don't specify what you mean by unique string. Built-in type for strings. This built-in string variant type and one used by JavaScript. Strings contain any number of Unicode characters and expose methods useful for manipulating and generating strings. Strings are reference counted and use a copy on write approach. Okay, string from node path. There are so many fucking things. Turns true if the string begins with a given text. Okay. A lot of this is just going to be like meeting it and then searching it up and seeing if it exists. Integers and floats. There are also doing that look like literals but are not. I forget what literals mean. I think they just like, this is null value, false, true, Boolean values. 45. It's just integer base is a base 10 integer. If it sees something like that, it's 16 integer, that's 2 integer. These are floating point number, these are regular strings, these are triple coded regular strings, these are raw strings, not sure what a raw string is, and these are triple coded raw strings, and then we have those. There are two constructors that look like literals but are actually not. Shorthand for get node. Shorthand for get node, unique node path, unique node, okay. Integers and floats can have their numbers separated with to make them more readable. The following ways to write numbers are all valid. Okay, equal to, equal to, equal to. Okay, so this is just separation. They don't actually have to do that. Regular string literals can contain the following escape sequences: new line, horizontal tab character, carriage return, alert, beep, bell, backspace, form feed, vertical tab character, double quote, backslash, K. Yeah, it's one of those ones where it's like I said, like you read the documentation to kind of get like a feel for it, but eventually it's just going to be like running it, and so it's just, this is all, it's all a new language in essence. It's doing things a little differently, it's doing things a little more simply. It's kind of cutting out all of the crap for C++, which I think is actually kind of really nice. Because there's a lot of stuff that C++ does that it's like, why wouldn't you do that? But yeah. Let's get into questions. Okay, string enclosed in quotes. Why do I even have this? Can I get rid of? This is a question. No, thank you. That's awesome. I've been wanting to do that in ages. I just saw that down there. I was like, I want to get rid of that. I hate that so much. It has never been useful to me. Okay, string close characters. There are also two ways to separate an escape Unicode character above. Okay, I don't think I'll ever use that. Okay, also using it followed by a new line. Also, using followed by a new line instead of string will allow you to continue the next line without inserting a new line character into the string itself. String enclosed in quotes. The string enclosed in quotes. Rents. Tab. Prints. Okay, so tab char equals slash // t. Okay, wait, a string enclosed in quotes can contain quotes of another type, for example, without escaping. Triple coded strings allow to avoid escaping up to a string enclosed in quotes of one type, for example, it can contain quotes of another type without escaping. Triple quote strings allow you to avoid escaping up to 2 consecutive quotes of the same type unless they are adjacent to the strings. Okay. Raw string literals can always encode the string as it appears in the source code. This is especially useful for regular expressions. Raw strings have. Okay. There are some special tokens like these keywords but are not. They are annotations instead. Every annotation starts with the and character and is specified by a name. Detailed description for each annotation can be found. Annotations affect how the script is treated by external tools and usually don't change the behavior. For instance, you can use it to export a value to the editor. Export range. Okay. Value to the editor. Okay, export range. Bar ranged bar. Information and exporting properties. Yeah, I've seen that in the top. Okay. We saw that in like one of the first things that it does. But anyway. Information. Yes, for constant expression. Compatible with the required argument. Fast as an annotation. Max speed. Oh, okay. I mean, like, thank you for being in as much as you have. I'm still kind of going through everything and just kind of figuring it all out. I might take a brief break to actually eat something because it's been 2 hours and it's been 3 hours and I need food. But yeah, oh, so you said... Oh yeah, no, like I don't mind. Sorry, so I finally see, because it doesn't show up in the other one about asking if you about backseating. It seemed to have skipped that accidentally on the live chat. So glad I opened up the other one. Yeah, no, game recommendations highly okay. I like when people recommend me games so I can take a look. I'd prefer if they're on through Steam. I will check out other areas. It's just at current though, I need you guys to understand that my computer is ancient. If I wasn't trying to raise money for rent, I would be raising money for a PC upgrade, because if you see on the top bar, I actually have a part list for what I'm looking for. I'm human, okay? I've been streaming for hours. I'm human. Please don't mess me on this. This is what I have been looking at for an upgrade. But I'm gonna be honest with you. There is, like, I know that it's supposed to be high, but I want my system to, like, be able to run modern games for a while. And so, what's happened, in essence, is I'm running a really older processor. It's a 6700K. i7, so it's really old. It's really old. And it's an Intel, and I want to upgrade because the AMD is running a bit cheaper. So if I can, this is the base upgrade for what I'm looking for. It's $554, but basically if I can get the parts, I can put it together. I can make sure that it's pasted and put on. And what I'll do is I'll basically start playing a lot more modern games, because my current issue is my processor. If I bring up my processor scouting tool, or like that, I've got a monitoring software. If I show that, my processor hits 90% before, or hits 100% before my graphics card even hits 50. So what's happening is essentially my processor is bottlenecking my graphics card. And so what I wanted was, I looked up what a good processor would be for something like a 3090, knowing that it would be a while before I'd be able to get it, because I looked at the 4000 series and I'm like, I am not getting a special power supply unit to run my gaming computer. Thank you. I will stop at 3090, and if things get more powerful than that, then I will just not play games, because I am not having a graphics card that pulls 1000 watts of power out of my system. At that point, make it more efficient. I don't care. So 3090 is the kind of as high as I'm willing to go. That processor that I kind of showed is like the bottleneck is on the I think the graphics card in technicality, and it's only by like 2 or 3%. So basically the processor will always run a little bit faster. And I was like, well, a processor should run a little bit faster because I'm doing streaming. And streaming takes a lot of processing power, especially if I'm doing it on one system. Because I'm not doing two graphics cards, one system. I'm just doing one. So yeah, I'm not looking for like a super expensive system. I'm also not a super expensive video gamer. Like I'm not I don't make a lot of money, you know. I'm living poor. Why I'm making a video game is literally because I want to finally use my degree for something and actually see what's going on. Anyway, like I want to try and make something that, you know, proves that I can both get into the industry, and then I'll have like a whole backlog of like videos and everything to be like, hey, this is what I did, this is how I learned, this is the process I went through, which is mostly chaotic. Yeah. Okay. Constant expression compatible with the required argument type can be passed as an annotation argument. Okay. Annotations can be specified one per line or all at the same time. Okay. Annotation A, annotation B for our variable. Okay. All in one line. Okay. When using nodes, it's common to desire to keep references to parts of the scene in a variable. As scenes are only warranted to be configured when entering an active scene tree, subnodes can only be called to node.ready. Made. Applying onReady and export notation at the same time doesn't work as you might expect. The onReady annotation will cause the default value to be set after the export takes effect, and will override it. Okay. OnReady goes get node label. Ready annotation that defers initialization to a member variable until it's called. It comes in especially when nodes external references pop up. This usually has the annotation that defers initialization of a member until ready is called. Okay. So annotations can affect the way that process is processed. So okay. When using nodes, it's common desire to keep references to parts of the scene. Keep references to parts of the scene in a variable. Parts of the scene in a variable. Okay. As scenes are only warranted to be configured when entering the active scene tree, the subnodes can only be obtained when a call is made. Okay. That has uses in other annotations. Anything from this end line is ignored in a comment, tip. The code script editor special keywords are highlighted within comments to bring the user's attention to specific comments. Critical appears in red. Alert, attention, caution, critical danger, security. And fix me, hack, task. These keywords are case sensitive, so they must be written in uppercase for them to be recognized. To do will appear in yellow. In the example below, to do will appear in level. Okay, but it didn't show up as, you said it would show up as yellow, but it didn't. Code regions are special types. Script editor, this means that after writing code, region comments collapse. Syntax is as follows. Okay, code region special types of comments. Special types of comments that the script editor understands as foldable regions. This means that after writing a code region, okay, so it's just on the top and end. Okay, so it'll collapse the code. Okay. Let's create code region. Okay. Here's a concrete code regions. This comment is inside the code. There's also the code region. It will be visible when collapsed. Region terrain generation. This comment is region. And this is end region. New region, okay. Okay. It just makes it easier. Okay. Organize large chunks of code to make it easy to understand sections. However, remember that external editors generally don't support this feature, so make sure your code is easy to follow even when not relying on code generators. Okay. Individual functions and indented sections such as if and for can always be collapsed. In the script editor, this means that you should... Okay. Line communication. Using a code region to contain single function or indented section, as it won't bring much of a benefit. Code regions work best when used to group multiple elements together. Okay, yeah, no, I get that. Okay, line code in JS can be... Line of code in JS. Add one at the end of the line. Next line. Backslashes. Here's an example. A line of code in JS can be continued on the next line by using a backslash. Add one at the end of a line. And the next line will act as... Here's an example. Okay, so if you have super long text, okay, built-in types. Built-in types are stack allocated. They are pass values. This means a copy is created on each assignment or when passing them as arguments to functions. The exceptions are object array, dictionary, and packed arrays such as packed byte array, which are passed by reference, so they're all shared. Here are passed as values. This means a copy is created on each assignment or when passing those arguments to functions. All arrays, dictionary, and some objects, node resource, have a duplicate method that allows you to make a copy. They are passed as values. Okay. Basic built-in types. Null, empty dataset value. Short, bool, short for boolean, can only contain true or false. Int, short for integer. Float, k, string, string name, an immutable string that allows only one instance of each. Okay, an immutable string that only allows one instance of each name. They are slower to create and may result in waiting for locks when multi-threading and exchange. They are very fast to compare, which makes them good candidates for dictionary keys. Okay. So string name, so they're all, okay, that makes sense. As they say, they're all of the same object, which basically means that like you can't create two string names of the same name, because they're just if you try that, it's just one. Okay, that makes sense. Node path, pre-parse path to a node or node property. It can be easily assigned to and from, assigned to and from a string. They're useful to interact with the tree to get a node or affecting properties like with tweens. I'm not sure what that is. Built-in vector types. Vector 2, 2D vector type containing X and Y fields, can also be accessed as an array. Vector 2i, but the components are integers, useful for comparing useful for representing items in a 2D grid. Rect 2, 2D rectangle type containing two vector fields, position and size, and also contain an end field, which is position plus size. An end field, which is position plus size. Vector 3, 3D vector type containing X, Y, and Z fields can be accessed as an array. Okay. Same as vector 3, but the components are integers used for indexing items in a grid, in a 3D grid. Okay. 3x2 matrix. Transform 2D, 3x2 matrix used for 2D transforms. Plane, 3D plane type in normalized form that contains a normal vector field and a d scalar distance. Quaternion is a base data type for representing 3D rotation and is used for interpolating rotations. Words that I vaguely understand. Axis aligned. Okay, AABB, axis aligned bounding box, okay, or 3D box, contains two vector fields, position and size, also contains an end field, which is position plus size. Two vector fields and just a normal field, okay. Basis, 3x3 matrix for 3D rotation and scale. It contains three vector fields, x, y, and z, and can also be accessed as an array of 3D vectors. 3D contains the basis field basis and vector 3 field origin. Color data types. The RGB and A fields can also be accessed as HS and V for hue, saturation, and value. RID, resource ID, servers use generic IIDs to reference opaque data. Object class for base class for anything that is not a built-in type. Container built-in types. Array, generic sequence of arbitrary object types, including other arrays or dictionaries. They can resize dynamically. Whoa. Okay. Yeah, I know that. You can call r.size and it gives you the size, and you can do -1 and you can resize it. And then basically any value that you have in it, this will just be 1. This is just 3. And then R0 replacing value 1 with pi, and R append 4 array is now high 1 2 3 4. Yeah, so you could just append things. Typed arrays. Go to 4.0 support for typed arrays on write operations. Go.checks the element values that match the specific type, so the array cannot contain invalid values. Okay. However, methods like front, back, and variant return type. Terry types have the syntax array type, where type can be any variant type or native or user class, or enum. Nested array types like int are not supported. Not yet. Anyway, array and array variant are the same thing. Okay. Note, arrays are passed by reference, so the array element is also passed by reference, so the array element type is also an attribute of the in-memory structure referenced by a variable in runtime. The static type of a variable restricts the structures so that it can reference to. Therefore, you cannot assign an array with a different element type, even if the type is a subtype of the required type. If you want to convert a typed array, you can create. Okay. Heck. Okay. So var a assigns no equal sign. That's the fun part. It's just colons. Array node equals. Okay, wait. Array node 2D. Equals, it's node 2D.new, and then, okay, you can add the value, you can add the value to the array because node 2D extends node. So var b node array equals a0. Okay, yes, because node 2D extends node. Okay. So node, then it's node 2D, then node 3D potentially, or like node does node 2D and 3D. B equals A. You cannot assign an array node 2D to an array node variable. Okay. B assign A. You can use the assign method, but you can use the assign method instead, unlike the equal operator. Unlike the equal operator, assign method copies the contents of the array, not the reference. Okay. The only exception that was made for the array variant type is for. The only exception was made for using convenience and compatibility with old code. However, operators on untyped arrays are considered unsafe. Operations on untyped arrays are considered unsafe. Okay. Packed arrays. Oh, geez. Usescript arrays are allocated linearly in memory for speed. Large arrays, more than tens of thousands of elements, may, however, cause for memory fragmentation. If this is a concern, special types of arrays are available. These accept only single data type. They avoid memory fragmentation and use less memory, but are atomic and tend to run slower than generic arrays. They are therefore only recommended for large data sets. So, okay. Dictionary, associated container which contains values referenced by unique keys. Okay. So var D, 4 is assigned 5, whatever. A key, a value, 28, not degree, okay. D high equals 0. Okay, 22 value. Different ways of doing it, I guess? Different ways of assigning it? Okay. It's assigned. Okay. Do some key 2, other key 2, 3, 4, more key. Hello. Lua symbol table syntax is also supported. Lua style uses equal instead of but and doesn't use quotes to mark string keys, making that's right. However, keys written in this form can start with a digit, like any, and must be string literals. Okay, well this is just 22's. Okay, test 22. Some key, other key, more key equals hello. Keys, so these are the keys. Okay, so 4. Okay, so that's just showing you what you can do. So 22 is value. And this one is doing 10, 22. Okay, so these are the ones before the colon are the like keys, and we use string keys for that, but then those are the values that are contained within. Okay. To add a key to an existing dictionary, access it like an existing key and assign it. So var d create empty dictionary, d dot waiting, add a string waiting as a key and assign the value 14 to it. D4 equals hello. Add string integer 4 as a key and assign add integer 4 as a key and its value. Go touch. Test equals 4. Equals 4, print the test. And prints hello by indexing the dictionary with a dynamic array. This is not the same as d.test. Bracket syntax equivalent to d.test is. D.test, the bracket equivalent to d.test is. Okay. The bracket syntax can be used to access properties of any object, not just dictionaries. Keep in mind it will cause a script error when attempting to index a non-existing property. To avoid this, use the object.get and object.set methods instead. Oh, okay. I need food. I need food. Evidently, we're gonna get to this. We're gonna get to this at some other point. I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna probably load up a game and we're gonna play for a bit. I'm gonna uncategorize us for the moment for the stream. I'll be back in a little bit. I just need to make food and fill my stomach. So I will be back. I'm gonna leave you with the screen wherever it is. Yeah, the stream isn't starting soon. I just don't have an interim one. Normally I just stream for a long period of time. Just I need a little bit. actually, I'm gonna go and actually go ahead and close up the stream, because if I'm gonna start a new game, what I'm gonna do is I will just start that stream back in a couple of minutes. So stream's gonna go down. It'll be back up in a little bit. I will see you guys in a bit later. Bye bye.